Some shows don't need a celebrity narrator to introduce the show, but this show does. 2 men, 8 kids, co-created by 2 different women, 13 multi-million-dollar businesses. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Thrive Time Show.
3, 2, 1, here we go!
Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, now we here.
Yes, 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 and yes! Thrive Nation, on today's show, we have an incredible lineup of great content we're going to be delivering to your craniums today. And Jason, it is always profound every single day that you and I are above the ground. Why?
What do you mean, why? It's a gift. We have the chance to do something every single day that we're able to wake up, and we have that sentient life. Like, it gives us purpose.
Are you a Christian?
I'm not, but I've been reading a lot recently.
And you just said every day is a what?
It's a gift.
I don't get it. I don't get it. I think somebody out there needs some encouragement today. Explain what you mean.
Well, it's like, we not only are living in, but we have lived in for a long time a very jaded reality where every day when your alarm goes off, you're pissed because you have to wake up.
Nah.
And even like,
I don't want to wake up.
Over the past couple weeks, I've been having to get up at 2:30 because this whole quarantine thing just to go to work. And at first I was angry. Then I thought, I am one of very few people who actually get to say, I get to go to work today. Not I have to, I get to. My business is still going on, so it doesn't matter if it's 2:30. Not only am I alive, but I can continue to do the job that pays for everything that I need, my wife needs, whatever. So
well said.
I stopped getting mad, and I just started getting motivated because I could also be dead, or I could be unemployed, or I could be both.
So what I'm going to do on today's show is I'm going to encourage everybody, but I don't like empty encouragement. I don't want like empty promises and empty hopes. I want to give people real specific moves that you can use to become more successful as a business owner and to mentally, emotionally fight that depression, okay? So we had a thriver. I'm not going to mention his name on today's show, but who I found out killed himself. And a guy who came to an actual conference multiple times, I've shaken his hand, I've met him, who killed himself. Now, that is the second thriver that I know of who has actually taken their own life this week. And I don't talk to a lot of thrivers. I don't. And so apparently, I am not doing a good enough job of communicating the urgency of this message. So if you're listening right now, I need you to stop doing whatever you're doing and just focus for a moment. Just focus for a moment. Think. There are 2 major causes of depression, all right? Two major causes of depression that are hurting great people like you. There's more, there's thousands of reasons, whatever, but there's 2 major ones. One is hope deferred. Proverbs 13:12 reads, hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a longing fulfilled is a tree of life. It's when you don't have hope that tomorrow is going to be better than today, and you don't know what's happening, and you're, I don't know what's going to happen. That's where you get depressed. Okay. The second major cause of depression is solitary confinement. Humans were not made to be alone. But Clay, you like to be alone. I like to be away from idiots. There's a difference. I love being in the fellowship of Randy Antrican with PMH OKC, with Bronson out there in Oklahoma City. I love being around you, Jason. I love being around entrepreneurs. I can't be around people that mope all day. Those aren't my people. That's not my squad. That's not my jam. That's like having the Wu-Tang Clan hang out with a bunch of KKK people. It's probably not the best group. It's like making me go to a country concert is how I feel when I'm around most people. But if you're an entrepreneur, I get you. But if you're mopey, I don't get it. So I'm trying to help everybody out there today. But I want to make sure we can identify the 2 major causes of depression. 1, hope deferred. It's where you don't know if the future is going to get better, and you just keep waiting for the virus to move on. And then think about this, Jason. The worst penalty we ever put out there for criminals, if you are a really, really bad criminal, We put you in solitary
confinement.
Why?
We shut you off from everybody because we know that if we put you in a damp, dark, cold room on a concrete floor with no human interaction, that's going to be worse than just making you sit behind bars where you don't see people.
You're in this. Everybody's in solitary confinement right now.
Right. It doesn't matter
Hiding
if you have
from the virus.
Yeah, it's like, okay, we have your streaming services. It's not the same.
Right.
Like you have to have that day-to-day. You have to shake somebody's hand. You have to have physical contact. You have to have meaningful conversation.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to punch it in the face. I'm going to punch these two forms of depression in the face. And I'm giving you facts. And I want you, if you're listening to this, don't believe me. Look it up yourself. Do not. If you believe me, you're an idiot. Look it up yourself. Let it be your own knowledge. Don't just listen to what I'm saying. Don't play these games where I just blindly accept. I'm too busy. I'm on watching The Voice. I couldn't look it up. Are you kidding me? So type this in. Do a search for Santa Clara County COVID-19 cases. Type this in, folks. Santa Clara County COVID-19 cases could be 50 to 85 times higher than reported. Stanford study finds. Again, Santa Clara, I'm busy. I can't type it in. I'm driving. Pull the freak over. Type this in. Jason, please read it slowly so we can type it into our phones.
Santa Clara County COVID-19 cases could be 50 to 85 times higher than reported, Stanford study finds.
Could you repeat it again? Slow.
Santa Clara County COVID-19 cases could be 50 to 85 times higher than reported, Stanford study finds.
Now, if Stanford is doing a study, Stanford is a college where a lot of liberals come out of there, okay? So it's not like a shameless conservative news. It's not like Fox News reports. If that's the case, why is that an encouraging thing to know?
Enlighten me.
If 50 to 85 times more people have it, but they didn't know they had it,
right,
and they're not sick, that would imply what?
It's not as bad as we thought.
In fact, currently it was reported by Neil Ferguson. And if you go to thrivetimeshow.com/coronavirus, you can see Neil Ferguson reported 2.2 Americans might die from the coronavirus, 2.2 million Americans. Now they've dialed it back, and they've said that 61,000 people are on pace to die from the coronavirus.
True.
Which means it would be 19,000 people per year less dangerous than the common flu.
Right.
And that's just facts. But now they're saying 50 to 85 times more people have it than they think. Listen to this audio, folks. Become unafraid, okay? So hope deferred. I'm not going to let your hope be deferred. I'm not going to interview our next guest until you are not scared. Jason, I'm playing this audio.
Do it.
Here we go. I'm playing the audio.
These are really important facts for the
This
American.
is Dr. Deborah Birx, who's at the head of the coronavirus, team fighting the virus. The Scarf Queen. Here we go.
People. I'm sure many of you saw the recent report out of the UK.
Nobody saw the report because everyone's on Facebook. People are too busy to look at the facts. It's so weird. Christians run around with their Bible, but they never read it. People have like a manual to their Ford Taurus. They've never read that thing. People are quoting the report showed that 2 million people could die. Oh, have you read the report? I don't think you have. Go to thrivetimeshow.com/coronavirus and read the report. I put it there for you. So she says, I'm sure most of you probably might have seen the report out of the UK. No, you didn't. But let's continue, Scarf Queen. Here we go.
If you saw the recent report out of the UK.
No, we didn't. No.
About them adjusting
We're too busy.
completely their needs.
Okay.
This is really quite important. If you remember, that was the report that said there would be 500,000 deaths in the UK and 2.2 million deaths in the United States. They've adjusted that number in the UK to 20,000.
What?
So 500,000 to 20,000.
Jason, how much smaller is 20,000 than 500,000?
25 times. Wait, is it?
25 times.
So their initial predictions of 2.2 million deaths are now down to 88,000. Their initial prediction of 500,000 deaths is now down to
20,000.
Right. And now the Stanford study is saying, hey now, hey now, we got a world between us. Listen, they're now saying there's 50 Hey now, folks, to 85 times more people that had the coronavirus.
What? This whole time?
Yes.
Wow.
Which means it's 85 times less dangerous than the flu. Oh, but people don't want to hear that because they want to be scared.
That's true. You know, at first when you read that to me, I was like, how's that encouragement? Then I realized, wait,
Encouragement.
we have that many more people that have it than we thought,
Right.
but the toll is the same. Yeah, that makes sense.
Now, so meanwhile, many businesses have been forced to shut down. Many businesses have been forced to quarantine. So again, the two causes of depression. One, hope deferred. Hopefully we just combated that for you. You shouldn't have deferred hope. You should have hope immediately.
Right.
Cause of depression number 2, solitary confinement. I'm hoping during this time that maybe I can be like your real virtual friend, and I hope maybe you might go out and hug somebody. Just don't tell your neighbor because they might turn you in. But seriously, if you're out there having some mental issues right now because you're stuck at home hiding from the virus, if you need to hug somebody, don't tell me about it, but do what you have to do, okay? Don't isolate yourself thinking you're going to save yourself from the virus, because this is jackassery. I mean, here's a fun stat for you. You know, in Michigan right now, fun fact, in Michigan, state of Michigan, you cannot buy seeds to plant your own food.
What?
They've banned purchasing your own seeds. I swear to God, true story.
As if you could plant immediate food and put groceries.
But you can buy pot.
Well, now
in Michigan, you cannot go to your lake home. So imagine you live in the congested and packed Detroit.
Right.
You cannot go to your lake home.
Can't go to a safe haven to quarantine successfully.
Yes. I mean, this is just the jackassery.
I don't laugh because it's funny. I laugh because it's confusing.
Right. So I want to dispel the fear. So cause of depression, what have we done a good job there? Hopefully people don't have hope deferred. They know we're going to be okay. We're not going to die from the virus.
Well, no, it's good because I honestly, we had talked about this last week, that quote, the hope deferred makes the heart sick.
Yes.
You asked Robert, what does hope deferred mean? And I was like, oh, I'm glad he didn't call on me because I wouldn't quite know how to respond to that. But now it's one of those things like, oh, okay, well, you can't have hope today. You can't look forward to tomorrow. But one thing you can't, like, people want to have a solid definition of what hope is. Just know that tomorrow's a different day. You don't have to have some tangible thing like, God, I hope I get $500 tomorrow. You just have to hope that you wake up tomorrow and then go from there. Now,
somebody else is going, but I heard it kills kids. Okay, I hear the coronavirus kills kids. I'm going to play the audio for you. From CNN. This is the audio from CNN.
As any parent knows, children get colds and viruses a lot. But mercifully, children are not getting terribly sick from this new coronavirus.
Children simply don't get very sick when they get this infection.
Oh, so Dr. Arthur Reingold from the University of California, Berkeley, reports that children really don't get super sick from this. So you shouldn't be afraid about your kids.
Nope.
You shouldn't be afraid about your life.
Nope.
But if you're an elderly person, all right? If you're an elderly person and your immune system is deeply compromised, all right, you should protect yourself.
Yeah.
And if you're a business owner and you're going to have to open your business here on May 1, you want to open your business, you're going to be allowed to open your business on May 1, and the government's going to put stupid rules in place.
Yep.
The same people that are wrong all the time about a great many things, these wonderful geniuses, are going to put out these new restrictions. So for haircuts, we have to sanitize the crap out of elephant in the room now in between every haircut.
I bet.
So this is what's going to be crazy. What I know right now is we're going to have less than 10 people in the place at any given time. So we'll have 4 stylists cutting hair, 4 customers, and then we have to be out. Everyone has to leave before the next 4 customers can come in.
That's so crazy. It's not gonna work.
It's gonna be done.
Well, it's one of those things like, you can stay open. But
so we're gonna be open 7 days a week. I've decided. It looks like, and we're gonna be open 12 hours a day, and we're gonna be sanitizing everywhere because I've done the math, and it'd be more expensive to go out of business than it would be to just stay in business and follow the stupid rules. But we can't be profitable until the restrictions are gone.
It's so dumb.
But I found out that a lot of our competition went out of business because they couldn't get their paycheck protection funding because they didn't have their 941s because they don't pay employee. The 941 is the employee paycheck document that shows how much you spent on payroll.
Yep.
And a lot of our competition, they do booth rent, so they weren't paying taxes.
No.
So therefore, they went out of business. So it's kind of crazy. So we're going to be competing against nobody.
Sweet.
Except for the coronavirus, which is less dangerous than the flu.
It doesn't cut hair.
So we're going to have to sanitize. And everybody out there is going to have to sanitize. You're going to have to put sanitizer everywhere. And the problem is, Jason, previous to this, Purell and big companies that made hand sanitizer, they were already at a certain capacity, right?
True.
So people have been trying to buy this crap and they can't get it.
Mm-hmm. I know people that are trying to make it because they can't get it.
People can't get it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought on today's show, because the solitary confinement, the number 2 cause of depression, is going to be over soon. You're going to be out there getting your hair cut, going to restaurants, and you're going to need hand sanitizer everywhere,
True.
whether you believe in the jackassery of the coronavirus or not.
Right.
We're going to have to follow these guidelines for the next months or years. And there's not going to be enough hand sanitizer.
No, there's not.
So I thought, let's interview a guy who produces hand sanitizer. Let's get him on the show.
Yeah.
And he's also an entrepreneur who, by the way, his major source of income even 3 months ago was making candles.
Wow.
He's the owner of a candle company that's been around for 30 years. So now without any further ado, we introduce you to a man by the name of Matthew Vasquez. Matthew, welcome on to the Thrive Time Show. How are you?
Oh, doing good. Thank you.
Hey, by the way, make sure you eat that microphone. It's like a spiritual thing, you know? Yeah. And I say eat it. I know that we're doing this over the phone because we couldn't possibly be in the same place at the same time.
That's true.
I appreciate you for getting closer to your phone / microphone. Okay, so you tell listeners out there, what's the name of your company?
Secret Gardens Candle Company.
What's the web address?
sgcandleco.com.
SG what?
sgcandleco.com.
I was trying to write that down, but I'm sorry, I was unable to write it down super fast. Can you just say one more time?
It's sgcandleco.com.
Jason, did you get that?
I believe it was sgcandleco.com.
I feel like he's saying sgcandleco.com. Okay, so you guys make candles. The company's been around for 30 years, and I understand you went to a festival in Broken Arrow, and the festival was like the last thing that happened, the last event before our super wise mayors and governors decided to shut down our cities. Tell us about this event that you went to.
So we went to an event that Secret Gardens has been going to since the event started years ago, and it's always one of the best events of the year.
What's it called?
It's called Shamrock the Rose.
Shamrock the Rose. Got it.
So the attendance is normally insane, shoulder to shoulder, and this year there was hardly anybody there. We said we'd be there. We have the biggest tent at that event, so we showed up because we committed to it, and it was the worst event probably ever in the history of 30 years.
So you committed to it. You're there. Nobody's there.
Yeah.
But you said one bright spot came out of it is people were buying what from you?
So we decided to make hand sanitizer because we needed it, and then we decided to make a little extra. And so the only thing that sold that day was hand sanitizer.
Why?
Because they couldn't find it anywhere. And we had no limits. So they came. If we'd had toilet paper, we would have sold that too. But
so my understanding is that Amazon then called you, hearing that you could make hand sanitizer because Amazon was out. Am I making that up? Am I exaggerating? Or tell us the story.
Not at all. We got a call from Amazon, and what was said was that they could not source it for their delivery drivers, and if they did not have sanitizer on every truck for every employee, they would not be able to operate their prime deliveries. And could we get it? And if we could, how fast could
Can I tell you a fun Amazon story?
Yes.
They're doing the tests for the coronavirus by doing samples in your nose.
Oh, it's painful too.
And they're doing these tests, and that's how they can tell if you got the coronavirus, And a lot of people know this, but like if you, the big thing is if you were trying to limit the spread of the flu, which by the way, the flu killed 80,000 people in 2017, 2018. So if you did have the flu, it's always a good idea to practice good sanitation, and to make sure that if you cough or sneeze, that you would cough like into your sleeve, maybe, or into your elbow kind of area, and then you would wash your hands. And we had the Amazon guy delivered something on was it Friday? It was the best. It's the best story ever. And he's out there going because they can't get in. Because we have less than 10 people in the building, and I have the door closed, so you can't have people in. And so I saw the guy, and this dude is hacking like, and he's just like, and he's trying to bring me a box of stuff. But he is like, it's like Joan Rivers or something. It's like Sammy Davis Jr. It's like he's hacking up a lung over there. But then he does the old nose pick move.
Oh no!
So he's picking that nose. He's going for gold, and I'm just watching it, kind of almost laughing. And then he comes out of the vehicle and hands me a box. And I thought to myself, whoa. So I then take the box and I go wash my hands and sanitize my hands. But, I mean, the Amazon, I mean, even though they have a ton of hand sanitizer, they don't have to teach their employees how to be sanitary.
That's true.
Have you caught somebody ever in your lifetime being unsanitary?
Oh, yeah. One of my favorite stories of all time was I was at the intersection of 15th and Yale.
Oh, yeah.
And, right where Driller Stadium used to be.
Yeah.
And typically I'd pay no attention to my rearview mirrors. I don't use them for anything.
Sure, yeah.
Sorry, police. But I just happened to look up, and the guy behind me, he's right around my age, music blaring, he's singing along to it, and all of a sudden I see him. He puts his nose up as if he's looking at his own rearview mirror, finger straight in. And I mean, he's going, like you said, for gold. Like he's mining in that thing.
Working that thing.
And then he goes to the other side, and he's doing it, and it was the longest light ever. So I'm just watching this like, this
Whoa.
can't possibly be happening.
It's a thing.
Somebody my age doing something like a 5-year-old will do. But then he stops, and what do you think he does next?
I don't know.
No.
What does he do?
He ate it. And if that wasn't good enough, he went back for seconds. And I remember thinking, this is I have never seen an adult do that before, and I'm still to this day thinking, I wonder what he's up to right now. I wonder if he's still doing the same thing.
I feel sick. Yeah. You're a sick person. You're a sick man. I'm glad this is an audio-only podcast because if there was a visual that went with it, I'd probably vomit. Yeah. Okay, so Amazon ordered from you. Who else has ordered from you Matthew?
Oklahoma Natural Gas has been a continual order customer. We take care of all of they've got over 100 locations.
What's included in this stuff that you make? What kind of stuff's in there?
So we use 200 proof alcohol. So we started with that, and then we have
200 proof?
200 proof.
That would get you drunk. Okay, continue.
It would.
You ever take a sip of it?
No.
It was like fire. Okay.
Yes, yeah. We blow fire out the back.
That's crazy.
So we do 200 proof alcohol that's made here in Tulsa, and then we also are using glycerin, and we scent it as well.
And you've provided this for FedEx, Bank of America. Who else?
FedEx, Bank of America. We've done several schools. We've done clinics. We've been sending it. New York City has been ordering it from us now. So we just sent out 100 bottles yesterday, actually.
Now, I know that for Elephant in the Room, my wife and I have decided we're just going to be buying crap from you. I say crap. I don't try to minimize the sanitizer. Crap is a very endearing. When I say crap, I mean that's a great thing.
Oh, yeah.
You're selling some great crap over there. But I have to buy it. Whether I want to or not, I'm going to have to buy a lot. And so we're just going to auto ship. So we're going to go to sgcandleco.com. We're going to go there. We're going to auto ship. We're going to get it every month. And Jason, whether I want to or not, I have to do it. And why do we auto ship up here at the office toilet paper? Why do we do that?
Well, it's easier. We know we're going to need it.
We don't
so
need it.
Might as well have a steady stream coming in because every now and then the market's going to get fearful, like now, and buy up stuff. You could say crap in this particular situation.
Speaking of crap, have you been up here in the office when we ran out of toilet paper? Has that happened? Have you seen it happen?
It has happened one time, and Andrew and I had to make a mad dash to multiple locations.
It's not fun when you're out. You can't be out.
Right.
Right away we're like, whoa, we're out. We got to go to the store now.
Right.
And Amazon does a very good job auto shipping us toilet paper.
True.
But there was a brief window where all of a sudden it was like the supply was cut off.
Yeah.
So, Matthew, I've got rough questions for you. One, if I'm a listener out there and I sign up to auto ship from you, I go up to your website, sgcandleco.com, sgcandleco.com. If I go to sgcandleco.com and I click buy, can I auto ship with you? Is that thing?
You can. You just pick reoccurring.
Oh, frick, this is the move. And you're also donating money to homeless people. Why are you doing that?
We're doing that, number one, everything that we do, we believe there needs to be a greater good to it.
Why?
Because I believe that our existence is to not only take care of ourselves but our fellow man and to look outside of our homes.
Why?
It's just it's how me and my wife have decided to live our lives.
Why? I mean that. Listen. I mean, listen to me. When I listen to the words coming out of my mouth, Jason, listen to this. Have you guys met some real ass faces?
Yes.
Okay. So I know people. I talked to a lady yesterday. Gosh, I wish I didn't have this conversation, but I did. I had it.
I'm excited.
And she says, Mr. Clark, a few years ago, I filed for unemployment. I said that you fired me. Can I come back? I'm like, this is something I vaguely remember her face from Elephant in the Room.
Mm.
I'm like, so you want to come back? But you're somebody who said that I fired you. Do you remember that? And they go, yeah, and I'm getting unemployment, but it's just depressing. Can I come back? I'll come back for free.
Wow.
So I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to forgive you immediately, and I will consider bringing you back. But I need to make sure that our current employees have those positions first.
Right.
But I had to ask. I said, can I ask you? I want to say her name, but I can't. Can I ask you why you said you were fired? And she says, well, the guy I was dating at the time said you're made of money, and if we filed, we could win a lawsuit.
Mm.
And so I'm like, do you not feel bad? She goes, I really right now am feeling bad because I saw you on Channel 8 advocating to be open for your people. And I called some of the girls that work there, and they said that you've been paying them. And I feel bad now. But it took like almost 3 years to feel bad.
Was she dating the nose picker man?
Oh, boy. And so it's a thing of like there are people that do not care about other people.
Right.
So the fact that you do care about people is weird.
Yeah.
So is there like a psychological problem? Do you find yourself going out into the parking lots and going, yeah? I mean, do you have other issues, or why do you care about people? What's going on in your head?
I guess I don't know. It's just something that was always instilled in me from birth, and
Okay.
I saw my parents do it.
You're sick.
And we just decided to keep doing it. So we just rather if we have one, let's see how we can divide it.
And you were a candle man.
Yeah.
Sing us a song for the candle man. Sing us a song. You were making candles, and now you're like the hand sanitizer guy. How have you been able to make that switch?
You know, in times of need, a lot of times great things are birthed. And one big thing for us was, we're not going to fail. We're not going to stop. I explained this the other day to somebody. I said, there's a difference between a bison and a cow. And when the storm comes, the cow stops and just lets it happen. The bison runs straight at it. And for the bison, that storm lasts shorter. For the cow, it lasts longer. And regardless whether we believe all the hype that's being said right now or not, we're in the middle of a storm because there are financial repercussions during this time.
I agree with that, yes.
And so we're either going to look at it and run straight at it and run through it quicker, or we're going to stop and see what happens. So we decided to put our head down and go.
Folks, if you're out there today, what I want you to do is I want you to have 3 action steps. And then what we're going to do, Jason, is we're going to get into some other great content here, okay?
Oh, yeah.
3 action steps. 1, I want you to go to thrivetimeshow.com/coronavirus and choose to believe that I'm not being honest, or I'm inaccurate, or maybe I'm not a smart guy. And I want you to go up to thrivetimeshow.com/coronavirus and I want you to read all the information up there. I want you to look at the Stanford Daily Report. If at the very least, just do a Google search for this particular article that's produced by Stanford College. Type in Santa Clara County COVID-19 cases could be 50 to 85 times higher than reported. Go check it out. Vaccinate yourself from the fear. So step 1, go to thrivetimeshow.com/coronavirus and vaccinate yourself from the fear. Step 2, find a way to not be in solitary confinement. Get on Zoom and call your grandma. Sneak out and find a really young person and hug them. Because they can't get it and you can't either. I don't know.
But don't be weird about it.
Yeah, don't be weird. Don't it's kind of, once the coronavirus is officially not scary, but people are still wearing masks, I kind of want to run around at Brahms and hug people.
Oh, yeah. It's so good.
I kind of want to make that my prank. Once it's official and common knowledge that it's not dangerous.
Yep.
Whatever that happens, I want to be like the first man to hug people, like just randomly. Like, he's a toucher.
It's like that guy who
I'll be like
went
the Joe
viral.
Biden of hugging.
Right. It was like that guy who went viral because he was the first person to record videos of him wearing like the free hugs T-shirt.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, it's gonna be you.
Oh my gosh, I'll be the free hug guy. Yeah. So, by the way, look at Joe Biden. You see the photos of him kissing Brandon. Look at this. Look at him. He's just he's a kisser.
He just kisses everybody.
Hey, look at him. Look at Joe Biden. What is he doing? Oh, I've met people like that. May Joe Biden not kiss me. Okay. So 1 is go to thrivetimeshow.com/coronavirus to learn more about this. Step 2, get out of that solitary confinement. Get yourself to a place where you're mentally healthy. And 3, get yourself some hand sanitizer.
True.
You got to do it. I recommend you check out sgcandleco.com, sgcandleco.com. I'm telling you, it's a good thing. You order it, auto ship it, boom, it's a move, it's done. Taking one step, you just buy it, you auto ship it, boom, there it is. But then the fun stuff we're going to talk about next is we are going to be interviewing, I don't want to make up the number, we're going to interview, I think it's 18 Thrivers that received their paycheck protection funding this week. We're going to interview 18 Thrivers that got their paycheck protection funding. And we're going to discuss, unfortunately, the suicide of a Thriver, because I don't want that to happen to a single other person out there. And sometimes when you talk about stuff that you don't want to talk about, sometimes it can be comforting because maybe somebody else is having those thoughts, and it kind of is almost cathartic and therapeutic.
Right.
But Matthew, before we let you go and get back to what you're doing here on this phone-in edition of the Thrive Time Show, where you're not possibly in the studio, we couldn't do that. Can you tell the listeners one more time? Well, what's your website, and why do you believe everybody out there should buy hand sanitizer from yourself?
So the website is sgcandleco.com.
Got it.
And I just believe that, we use all natural products, and we believe in the greater good. So when you buy from us, you know that you're also taking care of the homeless community, because we are sending hand sanitizer to the homeless everywhere when we get a call.
And without any further ado, we're going to hit the old transition button. Jason, this transition button is going to feel kind of like we're in Batman.
Ooh.
But we're not.
I'm ready.
3, 2, 1, boom! You are now entering the dojo of Mojo and the Thrive Time Show.
Thrive Time Show on the microphone. What is this? Top of the iTunes charts in the category of business. Drilling down on business topics like we are a dentist. Providing you with mentorship like you are an apprentice. And we go so fast that you might get motion sickness. Grab a pen and pad to the lab. Let's get in this. It's time to bear some fruit like some Florida oranges. 3, 2, 1, here come the business ninjas. Stacking the cash, making the dash, earning the plaques, bringing it back. Bring me the track so I can get up on the mic and speak the facts. Stacking the cash, making the dash, earning the plaques, bringing it back. Bring me the track so I can get up on the mic and speak the facts. No negative emotion, cause that's what business is. Always dominate, cause I got 5 kids. I will not lose, I don't break but bruise. They can talk about me, I can take that abuse. But here is the truth, while they make that excuse. I'll be up grinding cause the scoreboard's the truth. He is my mentor, like my Yoda dude. He showed me the force like I was a young Luke. Stacking the cash, making the dash, earning the plaques, bringing it back. Bring me the track so I can get up on the mic and speak the facts. Stacking the cash, making the dash, earning the plaques, bringing it back. Bring me the track so I can get up on the mic and speak the facts. Time for higher learning and higher earning. Taking you to the top like we're hiking Mount Vernon. We're changing the mindsets like we're incense burning. Passing on the magic like our name was Irvin. Serving up that knowledge like I was a servant. And I cite what I say so you know I'm not a servant. It's Thrive Time Show, bringing the heat while fervent. Giving it to you straight in a world that's swerving. Stacking the cash, making the dash, earning the plaques, bringing it back. Bring me the track so I can get up on the mic and speak the facts. Stacking the cash, making the dash, earning the plaques, bringing it back. Bring me the track so I can get up on the mic and speak the facts.
Encouragement. Yes.
Encouragement. Andrew, why would anybody right now, why would any listener out there right now need some encouragement?
Oh, man, there's a lot of states right now that are closed down, including most of the country is closed down right now. So a lot of people can't do business.
And the problem is, one of the things that causes depression, there's a few things that cause depression. I'm not a psychologist, but I want to get into 2 causes of depression. And then I'd like to try to be the cure today, if I can, of depression for somebody out there, because I mean this sincerely. We just learned this morning that a man who has attended Thrive conferences has killed himself. And I don't know that I'm doing a good enough of a job in encouraging our listeners, because this is a guy who had been to multiple conferences, and he lost hope. So I thought, I need to do my best to encourage our listeners. And I apologize if it's not good enough. But I'm going to start by getting into the 2 causes of depression. And if this is you and you are depressed today, please no, you're not going to be impressed by me, but hopefully the words that I'm communicating to you today will touch your heart because they were written by somebody who's a better writer than me. So if you open that controversial book known as the Bible to Proverbs 13:12, Proverbs 13:12. I'll give you a moment to Google search it if you want. Proverbs 13:12 reads, "Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a longing fulfilled is a tree of life." I repeat, hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a longing fulfilled is a tree of life. Andrew, what does it mean when somebody has their hope deferred or continually delayed, or they keep being told that their business is going to be able to open next week, maybe one more week, stay in your house one more week? Why does hope deferred, and I'm not expecting you to be a psychologist, you are a business coach who works with a lot of great clients. Yep. Why does the idea of not knowing what the future holds and not knowing when we're going to be open, why does that depress people?
Yeah, hope is something people need to keep going. They need to have something to strive for, to reach for, to look forward to. And so once you take that away or defer it or keep prolonging it or pushing it back, people start to lose hope, which, now they think maybe we'll never open, maybe we'll never leave our houses, maybe we'll never. So when you don't have that hope, it causes sickness in a lot of different ways.
And the governor of California, when the governor of California suggests that we won't have college football this year and that we'll not have crowds of people gathering around again to prevent the potential death, according to Dr. Fauci reports that 60,000 Americans are at risk of dying right now. Andrew, when a governor of California comes out and says they might not open up the state of California for football this year, maybe next year, who knows? Why does that kill the joy of people?
Yeah, that's one of many things that they're talking about not bringing back that people look forward to. They have hope for it. They long for that every single year. That's something that they live for. That's something that they strive for. That's something that they're looking forward to. And as soon as you take that away, along with a lot of other basic rights and a lot of other things that people look forward to, then it causes your hope to just be destroyed.
When you have to be when it's almost a criminal activity to get together on Easter with family,
right?
That's jacked up.
That's bad.
Now
it's
we
really
have this thing called the First Amendment in this great United States, and Andrew, I'm going to read the First Amendment to the listeners out there. The First Amendment reads, "Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or of the right of the people to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances." Again, it reads, "Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of a religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or of the right of the people to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances." Andrew, I want to give the listeners hope, but I want to deal with the first two causes of depression that I am aware of and that I'm seeing happening all over this great country. One is hope deferred.
Yep.
The second cause of depression that I find, and I have found this consistently, and you see this whenever you have a child that's misbehaving, or you have an American who keeps breaking laws and keeps threatening people, and they become so dangerous. The most dangerous criminals, the worst possible punishment we can give them, it is not death. It is
solitary confinement.
Yes.
Yep.
So when you put somebody in the prison and you keep them confined, why is solitary confinement the worst kind of punishment for the worst criminals in the world?
I mean, when you're put in a room by yourself with no interaction with anybody, with no light, with no hope, that's the biggest thing. You have no hope. You don't know when the next time you're going to leave is. You don't know when you're going to get out. It starts to do some crazy, crazy stuff to your brain, and it will permanently just jack you up. It will mess you up so bad.
So if you're listening today and you find yourself being depressed because hope has been deferred, and point one, and you find yourself being depressed because you're in solitary solitary confinement, which is the worst possible punishment our governors, our mayors, our wardens, our leaders can possibly. To the worst war criminals, the worst possible people, the worst punishment we've come up with is solitary confinement.
Yeah.
And that's what everybody's in.
That's right.
So you could see that people might be depressed. Andrew, is it shocking to you that the alcohol consumption in America has now gone up 55% according to Newsweek? Does that shock you?
No. When you lock people up and they're bored and they don't have any hope, alcohol is a ready and able thing to turn to at the moment.
But it's not shocking to you that people would turn to that.
No.
Okay. So let's back up. There's two major causes of depression that we're seeing.
Mm-hmm.
Hope deferred from the Bible. It reads, hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a longing fulfilled is a tree of life. Second cause of depression is solitary confinement. Do you agree? I want to get your take on this, Andrew.
Yeah.
Do you agree with this idea of keeping Americans locked up in their homes? And if not, I don't want to hear your opinion. I would like to see if there's any factual justification and or argument that you would have for saying that it is immoral, illegal, whatever, to lock people up. I just want to hear. I mean, are you a fan of it? Do you think this is a great idea?
No, I am not a fan of locking everyone up, and it's the fact is the First Amendment, the Constitution, that says we have the right to peaceably assemble. And then the other fact, the reason why I don't think we should lock everybody up is because this virus that has been proven to kill people has only been killing people who are of a specific kind and age and have a specific symptoms.
And to back you up, the Center for Disease Control is reporting that in Italy, 99.2% of all of the deaths that have come from the coronavirus involve people who are elderly with compromised immune systems.
Yep.
To also back you up, we have Neil Ferguson is the guy who initially predicted that 2.2 million American lives could be lost as a result of the coronavirus, and 500,000 British people, their lives could be lost. He initially predicted that, and then CNN came out with this study just talking about the coronavirus's impact on kids potentially. Listen to this real quick. This is
As any parent knows, children get colds and viruses a lot. But mercifully, children are not getting terribly sick from this new coronavirus.
Children simply don't get very sick when they get this infection. So if they develop any symptoms at all, they're mild, so severe.
So this is from CNN, folks. This is from CNN. This is Dr. Arthur Reingold from the University of California, Berkeley, explaining that kids can't get sick from this. So again, hope deferred. I'm giving you some hope. 1, kids cannot get sick and die from the coronavirus. Can they get sick? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Can the kids get sick of the flu? Yes. Did you know the flu in 2017, 2018 killed 80,000 Americans? The common flu killed 80,000 Americans in 2017, 2018, and it took the lives of 180 kids. The coronavirus is less dangerous than the common flu, but yet our reaction to it is more dangerous than anything I've ever seen. If you go to thrivetimeshow.com/coronavirus, I'm giving you all of the encouragement you're going to need to have hope based upon, I want you to have hope that you're not going to die from this thing, okay? Because a lot of people are afraid of dying from this thing. Now, I'm not a doctor, so I thought, let's get a doctor on today's show. So this right here is Dr. Scott Jensen. He's a senator from Minnesota, and this is what he has to say about the way in which our medical personnel are diagnosing people with the coronavirus. This is what he's saying.
Well, in short, it's ridiculous. I spent some time earlier today just going through the CDC's manual on how to complete death certificates and the parts that were specifically written for physicians. And in that manual, it talks of precision and specificity, and that's what we were trained with. The determination of the cause of death is a big deal. It has impact on estate planning. It has impact on future generations. And the idea that we're going to allow people to massage and sort of game the numbers is a real issue because we're going to undermine the trust. And right now, as we see politicians doing things that aren't necessarily motivated on fact and science, the public's their trust in politicians is already wearing thin.
So what do you say to Dr. Fauci tonight?
Well, I would remind him that anytime healthcare intersects with dollars, it gets awkward. Right now, Medicare has determined that if you have a COVID-19 admission to the hospital, you'll get paid $13,000.
Okay, you get paid, a hospital gets paid $13,000 every time they check the box that somebody has coronavirus, whether they have coronavirus or not. So again, hope deferred. Have some hope here, folks. The number of cases are being grossly overreported, okay? They're being grossly overreported. Also, you just heard on CNN, you didn't hear it on Fox, you heard it from a liberal organization, that the coronavirus is not super harmful for kids. So we know that. We should have no fear of your kids dying from this, and you should have no fear of it getting you unless you have a severely compromised immune system, in which case you should take precautions and try to limit your interaction with other people that may put you at risk. That's the only people who are at risk of this. Now, you would think that the governors of these states that have suggested that we should shut down our country would have a knowledge of the Constitution. And Andrew, if you are a referee of a professional football game, why should you have a knowledge of the rule book?
Well, if you're going to call somebody out for breaking one of the rules, you better know what you're talking about.
You used to work for me doing professional photography for weddings. Why would you want to have a knowledge of the camera if you were going to go out there and take photos of the bride and groom on their big day?
Well, if I didn't, I would be out there in front of the whole crowd, in front of the bride and groom, and be looking.
It'd be
at
embarrassing.
Them blankly. Yeah, it'd be
and so Tucker Carlson decided, let's interview the governor of New Jersey, who decided to shut his state down, and ask him, under what authority does he have to shut down his state? I mean, how can he violate the First Amendment of the United States Constitution? How can he violate the First Amendment of the Constitution? Did he talk to an attorney? Is there some clause Tucker's not aware of? And this is what the governor of New Jersey had to say to Tucker Carlson. Listen to this.
So you made that decision, and as I noted before, 15 congregants at a synagogue in New Jersey were arrested and charged for being in a synagogue together. Now, the Bill of Rights, as you well know, protects Americans' right, enshrines their right to practice their religion as they see fit and to congregate together, to assemble peacefully. By what authority did you nullify the Bill of Rights in issuing this order? How do you have the power to do that?
That's above my pay grade, Tucker. So I wasn't thinking of the Bill of Rights when we did this. We went to first of all, we looked at the data and the science, and it says people have to stay away from each other. That's the best thing we could do to break the back of the curve of this virus that leads to lower hospitalizations and ultimately fatalities.
And I'm not contesting that, though. I think I do think there's a debate. This is a rolling conversation because we're learning new things every day, and nothing is settled at this point.
Understood.
But I do want, since you are an elected official, a leader in the government, an executive, how do you have the authority to order something that so clearly contravenes the Bill of Rights of the United States, the U.S. Constitution? Where do you get the authority to do that?
Well, here's the thing. We know we need to stay away from each other, number one. Number two, we do have broad authority within the state. And number three, we would never do that without coordinating, discussing, and hashing it out with the leaders, the variety of the leaders of the faiths in New Jersey. We are among, if not the most diverse state in America, so we're used to that.
I'm sure that you talk to every rabbi and priest, but there's a deeper question here, and I'm just going to ask you one last time because I think it's important. I'm sure you've thought about this. You can't just, as the governor of a state, tell people who they can talk to when and where, because the Constitution of the United States, upon which all of this is based, prohibits you from doing that. So you clearly decided that you could do it. Did you consult an attorney about this? Did you? I mean, because this is a legal question as well as a medical one, isn't it?
I don't go to the men's room without consulting an attorney, so I guarantee you we did that. But I'll give you an example that was not related to the synagogue. I called up Cardinal Tobin, Cardinal Joe Tobin in Newark. There are 5 or 6 archdioceses in New Jersey. It was coming up to Easter and Holy Week in particular. And I said, listen, I'm really concerned about drive-through Holy Communion because we had heard some stories about priests who unwittingly had the virus and unwittingly passed it on to parishioners. And he said, we're not doing that, I promise you, and I'll confirm that with my fellow bishops. That's not denying someone their right to worship in any way, that we have to find a different way to worship. And I think that's the point. God bless America.
Yeah, we're not, government's not allowed to tell
way.
people how to worship just as a sort of factual matter. Last question, sincere question. So these orders, which again, I'm presuming and I believe were taken in good faith under trying circumstances, have nevertheless, and you just said it, have resulted in an awful lot of suffering. 577,000 New Jerseyans on unemployment. Doubtless the suicide rate will increase. The addiction rate will increase. Liquor stores are open.
Andrew, you're looking at the picture of this guy who killed himself. We've got his truck has been in our parking lot multiple times for conferences. I don't think people understand how much depression is caused when somebody is isolated from other people.
Yep.
Solitary confinement is the worst punishment out there. And cause number one, we have cause number 1 and 2. Cause number 1, hope deferred causes depression. Cause number 2, solitary confinement. So what I want to do today for all the listeners is I want to encourage you right now with some facts. And I want you to take these facts, digest them, consume with them, wrestle with them. Go to thrivetimeshow.com/coronavirus. Look these things up. Let these truths be your own truth and then share. I hate to use it just because it rhymes and all that, but sharing really is caring. If you care, share with somebody. Vaccinate somebody from the fear virus. So many people are afraid that this is going to happen. The leader of the World Health Organization, listen to his recommendation for how to stop the spread of the coronavirus. Listen to this.
Last week, Dr. Michael Ryan, he's a leader at the World Health Organization, announced that in response to the spread of this virus, authorities may have to enter people's homes and remove family members, presumably by force.
In most parts of the world, due to lockdown, most of the transmission that's actually happening in many countries now is happening in the household, at family level. In some senses, transmission has been taken off the streets and pushed back into family units. Now we need to go and look in families to find those people who may be sick and remove them and isolate them in a safe and dignified manner.
Just so you know, we're coming to your house, seizing your children, and, quote, isolating them in a safe and dignified
What do you think when you see that, Andrew? Like when you see, I mean, can you believe that that is the recommendation from the World Health Organization?
No, and I can't believe he said that. That's unbelievable.
So let's get into the timeline for a second, okay? Because I want to make sure nobody gets out of this show without having hope, okay? Step 1, Neil Ferguson came out and predicted 2.2 million American deaths and 500,000 deaths of British people. Then Dr. Deborah Birx and Dr. Deborah Fauci, or Dr. Fauci, Dr. Anthony Fauci, just Dr. Deborah Birx and Dr. Anthony Fauci came out and said to President Trump, we really need to shut the country down. And listen to this. This is Dr. Deborah Birx speaking about the coronavirus a few weeks ago. Listen to this.
This is really quite important. If you remember, that was the report that said there would be 500,000 deaths in the UK and 2.2 million deaths in the United States. They've adjusted that number in the UK to 20,000. So 500,000 to 20,000. We're looking into this in great detail to understand that adjustment.
So think about this for a second. We adjusted, the number was adjusted from 2.2 million projected American deaths. 2.2 million American deaths projected to happen from the coronavirus. And we're now down to 61,000.
It's a big difference.
But even before we did any of this mitigation BS, we were already down to 88,000. They predicted 500,000 U.S. or 500,000 British deaths. 500,000 British deaths were predicted, and they adjusted it down to 20,000. It's a 25-time exaggeration of the risk of this. People, stop being fearful. Stop it. Stop being fearful. The virus that is dangerous is fear. Let's put it into a different gear. We do not need to be fearful. Andrew, if you are fearful, can you make good financial decisions?
Oh, no. You make the exact opposite. You make fast, quick, decisions that aren't thought through at all. They're typically, you regret them. Anything that's made, a decision that's made fast, that's not based on facts, it's probably going to be a bad decision.
Read Matthew 10:31, Thrivers. Check it out, Matthew 10:31. It says, "So don't be afraid. You are worth more than many sparrows." It's in reference to these sparrows aren't afraid. It says Matthew 10:30, "And even the very hairs of your head are all numbered." Why don't we do this? Let's go to Matthew 10:28, and we'll just kind of read from there. Matthew 10:28 reads, "Do not be afraid of those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. Rather, be afraid of the one who can destroy both soul and body in hell." Saying, don't be afraid of dying. Matthew 10:29, "Are not sparrows sold for a penny, yet not one of them will fall to the ground outside your Father's care? And even the very hairs on your head are all numbered. So don't be afraid. You are worth more than many sparrows. Whoever acknowledges me before others, I will also acknowledge before my Father in heaven. But whoever disowns me before others, I will disown before my Father in heaven." Listen to this, Thrivers. Cause of hope number one. You can't die from this, okay? It's elderly people with severely compromised immune systems. And if that is you, quarantine yourself, okay? Avoid people who potentially could pass you the flu. Listen, 80,000 people died from the common flu in 2017, 2018. 80,000 people. This is less dangerous than the common flu. Dr. Fauci has come out and said 61,000 people are projected to die. Stop hiding from the virus. Stop it. Stop hiding from the virus. Cause of depression number two, solitary confinement. Get out there right now and do what the people in Michigan are doing. You must do what you must do to provide for your family. Think about your family right now. You must do what you must do to provide for your family. And the government is violating your First Amendment right to peaceably assemble.
While protests breaking out in several states yesterday.
Listen to this. These are protests going on in Michigan. Listen to the sounds of the voices of the people. These are normal moms and dads. And all it takes to lose our freedom is for one generation to sit on their hands and do nothing. Freedom doesn't pass through the bloodstream. It's not a hereditary thing. It has to be fought for. We fought against King George. We fought in boats. We fought on the beaches. We fought on the shores. We fought in the land. We fought King George to win our freedom, the Revolutionary War. We fought for it. We had people who fought in World War II and World War I and fought in Korea and fought in Vietnam and fought in the Middle East. We have had people fight all over this world to protect our freedoms. Why are we giving these freedoms up to hide from the coronavirus? Listen to the protests that are happening right now across this great, great land.
Protests breaking out in several states yesterday. They continue today as well, growing frustration over stay-at-home orders. The largest one was in Michigan's capital, where thousands packed the streets of Lansing, calling for the lifting of some of the strictest restrictions in America.
In Michigan, it feels like we are oppressed right now. Our demands are not even great. What we're really asking for is for to stop talking about what is essential and non-essential and just start looking at what is safe versus unsafe.
Mike Tobin is live for us with more details. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Ed. Conservatives of Michigan have had enough. They're letting that be known. The Michigan Conservative Coalition organized and executed what they called Operation Gridlock. From their cars, they locked up the otherwise empty streets of Lansing, Michigan. They surrounded the state capitol in cars and trucks. They want to get back to work. They want to use their own discretion about who can safely get back to work. And they're upset with what they consider the heavy-handed and arbitrary nature of the stay-at-home order.
Michigan is in dire straits now. We need to get to work. We need to open up. It's time. We've been quarantined long enough. It's time.
And I can't go between those houses. You can't buy paint. You can't buy lawn. You can't buy lawn fertilizer or grass seed or whatever. I mean, come on. All statewide, really?
That's a former member of the U.S. military who's at the verge of tears because he can't go to the store to buy things. Well, why can he not? It's because the governor of his state, she is making it impossible for her to go and live his life peaceably. He cannot peaceably assemble. He can't peaceably assemble because she's limiting his rights. And so Gretchen Whitmer can't hide the fact that she's aging behind a Botox any more than we can hide from the virus. You see, she can get a lot of Botox, but we still know she's getting older. And she can get a lot of Botox. She could get as much Botox as she wants, but she can't hide the fact she's getting older. And we, as a country, can't hide from the coronavirus. It's not possible. And as much Botox as she wants to have, I can tell she's getting older. I bet, she can keep having Botox. And we could keep hiding from the virus, but it's not going to cure it. What's going to kill our economy is shutting the country down. So far, in America today, we have 22 million Americans who have filed for unemployment that we know of, but the unemployment agencies cannot keep up with the numbers. So right now, we have 1 in 8 Americans are unemployed. Yep. So if you go to church this Sunday, which you can't do because you can't peaceably assemble, if you did, 1 out of 8 people in the room are now unemployed. So now, Thrivers, it's time to take action because we're people of action. So what can you do? What can you do? One, you can share this message. You can go to thrivetimeshow.com/coronavirus. All right. You can share this message with as many people as possible. Vaccinate people from the fear. Okay. But there's 2 causes of depression we're talking about. And I want to vaccinate you from both of them because I did a poor job because we had another thriver who killed themselves. The problem with this one is I knew who he was. The other one, I didn't know his name, but he listened all the time. And that sucks. That sucks. It's terrible. And it is very, very important that we fight for your First Amendment right to peaceably assemble. You have to fight for that right. It's not passed down through the bloodstream. Okay? So cause of depression number 1 is hope deferred. I want you to know this great country is going to be open here in May, folks. It's going to be open in May. It's going to be open in May. And folks, this virus is less dangerous than the common flu. Know that. Know these truths. Hold them to be self-evident. Look them up. Research. Know that the country is going to be open up here in May, folks, and know that this virus is less dangerous than the common flu. 2, cause of depression, solitary confinement. Do what you have to do to take care of your family. And I'm not talking about just your financial health. Do what you need to do to take care of your family. All right? Do what you need to do. Exercise your right to peaceably assemble, like they're doing in Michigan. You do what you have to do. That's what must be done. And I had Andrew get on the phone and reach out to, I don't even know how many thrivers. I think maybe 15. How many thrivers did you get a hold of? 15 thrivers?
Yeah, 14 or 15.
14
yeah.
or 15. And I'm going to have you, when we hop off here in a minute after your next meeting, I'm going to have you kind of edit these together, just back to back to back, because I want you to hear the voices of great thrivers all across this country who have been funded from the Paycheck Protection Program and who are finding a way to navigate this coronavirus economy and who are not giving up. I want you to hear the voices of real thrivers out there who've made it. And so we're going to be editing this all together, and you're going to hear the voices of a lot of people who aren't me. You're going to hear the voices of Andrew and his great clients and thrivers who are not giving up. But if you're going through hell, do not give up. Again, if you're going through hell, do not give up.
All right, what is your name and what is the name of your business?
I am Amy Baltimore, and my business is Amy Baltimore CPA.
All right, and where are you located, and what all do you do?
So I'm in a little town called Covington, Tennessee. We're about an hour north of Memphis, and we're just a general public accounting firm. We do taxes, accounting services, payrolls, things like that.
Perfect. So you all have recently been funded by the Paycheck Protection Program and received funding from there. When did you all first apply for funding?
It was, I had it on my banker's desk on April 2nd.
April 2nd.
Yes.
Perfect. So that was about 14 or 15 days ago.
Yes. It took me a good solid 2 weeks.
Solid 2 weeks. So you got funded. When did you actually get funded? When did the funds hit your bank?
Probably about 2 o'clock this afternoon.
So just about an hour ago.
Yeah. Yeah, not long ago.
That is great. When you applied for the Paycheck Protection Program, how was that process for you? How was filling out the application and getting it to your bank? Was it easy? Was it hard? How difficult was that?
Well, I mean, the application was not hard. My biggest frustration was with my banker. He didn't know anything. And so, I had called him and to get information to get me started with it, and he said he didn't know anything. And so I started calling other bankers and found a guy who had a lot of information, and he said that he would help me. He sent me the application, sent me the list of everything I needed to gather together. And so I was going to go to him, but then when I went to submit it to him, he said that he was told by his boss that he could only do current clients. So I had to go back to my banker. So I submitted it to him, and I called him later that day, and he said, yeah, he sent it on through. Everything was fine. But then he came back to me probably 3 or 4 times last week wanting more information, which I'd kind of already given it to him. He was just very unorganized and didn't know what he was doing.
But did you get funding from him? You guys got funding from that bank?
Yes.
Perfect.
And so I had to do a lot of phone calls and a lot of emails. He said I was one of 3 that he actually ended up getting funded before they ran out of money.
Got it. Well, that is so good to hear. I'm so glad that you guys got funding, and thank you for telling us your story about it.
Well, thank you. You're welcome.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Amy. All right. What is your name, and what is the name of your business?
My name is Douglas Green, and I am the founder and chef of Macro Mills, and I'm also joined here by my lovely wife, Sarah. She's the co-founder.
So I'm Sarah Green, and I am the co-owner of Macro Meals and our nutrition and health and wellness coach.
Perfect. So Macro Meals, what is it that you guys do, and where are you located?
We provide Snicker bars for all. Just kidding. We're a health food company.
There it is.
Yeah, there we are. We deliver healthy, nutritious meals right to your doorstep.
Perfect. So healthy meals delivered to your house or to your business.
Correct.
Perfect. So you guys have gotten funding from the Paycheck Protection Program.
Yes, we did.
When did you guys first apply for funding?
It was actually like in December, like pre-pandemic.
We felt
it coming on, so we decided to start applying. No,
proactive.
We were proactive, but it was the 3rd.
It was, so, I mean, we had originally applied with the SBA loans, the EIDL, and then received no verification, no emails, no correspondence whatsoever. And then the PPP came out. And we had kind of searched around for different financial institutions that we could get funding from. And we were checking around with our current bank that we prefer to do business with, and we actually opened accounts at 2 other banks to see, because I knew we had to be customers in order to get priority with those lenders. So it was just kind of a very big whirlwind. But to answer your question, April 3rd is the day that we officially applied with the lender that we actually got the funding from. But we applied with several.
We did like the shotgun approach. We knew at some point something would stick. So we were just determined to get the funding. We knew it was available, so therefore we persevered and we did so.
Yeah. And I know that bankers are like, this probably hurts their ears that we had probably had a couple of lenders go through the underwriting process, but the funding and keeping our employees was more important than causing that headache.
So good to hear. So you guys reached out to multiple different banks. You reached out to your bank, and then you said 2 others or 3 others?
I think it ended up being around 3.
Around 3? Okay.
Yeah.
So you reached out on the 3rd of April.
Yes.
You guys reached out to on the 3rd to a couple different banks, and you applied at them, sent out your application, your documents. When did you actually receive funding? So you applied on the 3rd. What day did you receive the funding?
The 11th.
The 11th of April?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, this past Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
on
great.
Saturday.
Yeah, on Saturday.
Yeah.
On the Saturday.
Banks don't work on Saturdays, but we got funded
This
on Saturday.
Yeah. They were working on Saturday.
Working overtime. So you guys got funded on Saturday. So you applied on the 3rd. You got funding on the 11th. And what was the process actually like when you applied? Was the application confusing? Was it easy? How was gathering the documents?
The application was actually really easy to fill out. Now, I would say it's easy because we're pretty organized as far as finances and accounting. We have a weekly accounting meeting. We know where our money's going. And it was very easy to log in and pull reports. And then just supply that with the short application.
And I'll just add a little bit to that, and then thankfully we are proactive about that. I think the problem, what I've heard, because I have friends in the banking business, the issue was the bottleneck that was created on their side, because there's so many iterations that had came from the SBA and how they had to navigate their way through funding these loans. But the message is to keep hope alive, keep on trying.
Yeah,
that's right. Good stuff. So you guys applied at a lot of banks. You didn't just stop at one. You kept going. You kept applying. And you got funding. You applied on the 3rd. You got funding on the 11th. Any word of encouragement or any advice to someone who may be just applying at one bank? Should they go out and apply at some other banks?
Absolutely. Even if they're telling you that there's a waiting list, just get on it and see if you've got friends that know other people in the banking business and use those connections. Because it's worth it to have that peace of mind, to have that extra funding in the account when our revenue and our sales are extremely low. We know that we're going to be able to maintain the current workforce that we have. And that's, as a business owner, I mean, that's one of the reasons why we go to work every day.
Yeah, it's one of our missions is to serve millions. So, and it's awesome to just to add on to what she said. We're pretty thankful that we were able to get the funding. I don't know. I guess keep on applying. I mean,
yes.
Yeah.
There's nothing more you can do. Get the number. What's it called? I forget what it's called.
The confirmation number.
The confirmation.
The SBA?
Yeah. Just make sure you get that and just keep on grinding it out.
And you guys followed up with the banks. You didn't just submit it and stop.
Oh,
you called
no.
them.
Oh, yeah. I called them, emailed. Some of them I had their cell phone number, so I was able to text them. But, yeah, I did not stop it.
Yeah.
Just like, okay, we received your applications. No, I made sure that ours stayed at the top.
Followed up.
She's ruthless.
But I was really nice about it because I know stressful situations sometimes don't always bring out the best in people or maybe more of their human side. And I just made sure that I was extremely positive and tried to be really nice because I knew that they were receiving some not so nice things.
Perfect. All right. So you guys applied on the 3rd, got funded on the 11th of April, applied at multiple different banks, and you didn't get funded by the bank you banked with. You got funded by another bank because you guys reached out, right?
No, actually, we did originally go back to our the
original bank.
Yes.
Okay, so you got funded by your bank, but you guys reached out to a ton of different banks, and you got the payroll protection program. You can make payroll. You guys have funds coming in, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks, Drew.
All right, what is your name and what is the name of your business?
My name is Gabe Salinas, and the name of my business is Window Ninjas.
All right, Window Ninjas. And where are you guys located?
We are located, our corporate office is located in Wilmington, North Carolina, and we have 11 total locations throughout the 4 states of North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, and Tennessee.
All right. And what kind of services do you guys offer? Is it window cleaning?
Yes, we do. We provide window cleaning and pressure cleaning, as well as gutter cleaning and dryer vent cleaning services for residential and commercial properties.
Perfect. And you all have been approved for the Paycheck Protection Program, the funding. What has that process been like for you? Has it been confusing? Has it been easy? And when did you first apply for this funding?
We applied for the funding day one. As soon as they released the authorization for the banks to go ahead and run with the program, we had delivered to our bank of choice that day. And that process initially seemed easy. However, when the banks got their hands onto it, individual banks, they had us redo a lot of the forms to fit their own banking forms that they utilize with their letterhead, which, made it problematic because it was having to do the process over again, almost. And then we ran into snags and delays with the fact that they either couldn't get the stuff uploaded into the SBA system, or they weren't fully aware or fully operational with being set up with SBA properly. So that drug on for about another week. And then we got notification that some of the banks that we had worked help us at all because they were having problems with the SBA, and then we had to go to second-tier banks and try this all over again. So all in all, after about a week and a half, we finally got one of the banks to get our 2 loans approved.
So how many different banks did you actually have to go apply with?
We actually had to apply with 3 different banks.
3 different banks. And the bank that finally got
and
you guys approved.
This, and the interesting thing is, one bank, all 3 of them seemed extremely interested to get the deal done. They were very excited about doing the process. But the individual bankers themselves were all over the place. One was lackadaisical about it, another was very caring about it, and another was just very business about it. Actually got the deal done, whereas the person who was lackadaisical about it wasted about a week of my time, and the person that was caring actually got the deal done. However, the guy that was all business about it didn't give me the authorization that my 2 companies were actually confirmed. He didn't follow up with me, and therefore my 3rd banker, who actually cared, was pulling her hair stuff into the queue, and when she finally did, it got rejected because we had already been approved by another bank. So it caused some more headaches and problems for me as well as her. So yeah, it's been a big debacle, and it was a big pain in the butt. Not so much on the SBA side or the government side, more so on the actual local bank side.
So the bank that actually got you guys approved, is that the bank you bank at, or did you have to go to another bank to actually get some approval happening?
I actually had to go out to a separate bank that I would have never, ever done business with had a friend of mine who actually worked for that bank reached out to me and knew me because our kids played lacrosse together. She reached out to me and said, "Hey, our bank is wanting to do local company loans for the SBA, even if you are not a client of ours. So we want you to register with us and get signed up with us and let us do this deal for you." So I was fortunate enough to know somebody at the bank that actually got us approved, that she reached out to me, because otherwise I would not have reached out to them.
Perfect.
And that's the one that got the deal done.
They got it done. All right, well, so after you applied for the actual funding, how long did it take to get the approval? How many days was that?
I don't know if it was immediate, within a day, or not, because the guy that got it approved for us didn't let me know until today. And so that's been 2 days now that I was dealing with him. I was dealing with him Monday morning, and today is Wednesday afternoon. And I just found out probably 4 hours ago.
Got it. Okay. Well, congratulations, man, on getting that Paycheck Protection Program. And thank you for coming on and sharing with us.
Hey, well, you're welcome. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to express how it went, and we hope the government does it again, and maybe these banks will have their stuff in better order next time to make it a lot smoother for everybody.
All right, what is your name and what is the name of your business?
I'm Kim McKenna Johnson, and I am the owner of One Cross Medical Clinic in Campbellsville, Kentucky.
One Cross Medical Clinic, perfect. And what is at the core that you guys do? What is it that you guys do?
We do family medical care, so we take care of people from cradle to grave.
All right, I like it. And you all have received your Paycheck Protection Program funding, which is exciting. And I have a couple questions for you here. When did you all first apply for the funding?
The very second that they opened it up. We had our application already, and we sent it out immediately.
All right, so pretty early. As soon as they released it, you guys sent it out. Was that like 2 weeks ago, a couple days ago? Do you remember the day?
Oh, I wish I did. No, it was probably a couple of weeks ago, right when they opened things up.
Perfect. Okay, so a couple of weeks ago. And how was that process? How was filling out the application, gathering the documents? Was it difficult? Was it easy? How was that process for you?
Most of the information that we had was, we had it all in our records, and that was fine. What was scary, we had submitted our application earlier before they opened things up to a bank, and then right on the day when you could submit, they sent us a letter saying, sorry, we're full up with an increased response. We aren't accepting any more applications. So they didn't take our application. So we immediately started calling banks around locally to find one that was taking those applications. And so we found one, and we submitted that immediately and called every day, did everything we can to get all the information they wanted in, and thank goodness it worked.
Perfect. So to be clear, you applied at your bank, and then they said that they are slammed. The day that it came out, the Paycheck Protection Program came out, they were already slammed, and so you went out and you went and applied at other banks. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. How many banks did you have to go out there and apply with? Was it 2, 3, 4?
We actually applied with 3. Yeah, we actually went to 3 banks.
So 3 different banks, and you found one that would take your application, processed it, sent it to the SBA, you got it back. And when did you receive the funding? When did that happen? How long did that take?
We got a call today that I'll pick up the check tomorrow at noon.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Kim, for coming on here and telling us about your Paycheck Protection Program funding. We appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrew, and you have an awesome day.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Kim. All right, what is your name and what is the name of your business?
My name is Dwight Corrigan, New Image Med Spa.
All right, so a New Image Medical Spa. Where are you guys located and what do you guys do?
Claremore, Oklahoma, and we do medical spa work, Botox, fillers, laser work, and other cosmetic procedures, just office procedures, not surgical.
Perfect. When did you guys first apply for this funding, the Paycheck Protection Program? How long ago did you apply? Do you remember what day you applied, sent in that application to your bank?
I believe we sent it in on April 2nd, and then they revised it on April 5.
Okay, so you resent it back out on April the 5th, send it back out to your bank. How was that whole process? How was filling out the application and getting all the documents ready?
Well, it actually pulled everything off of QuickBooks pretty easily, and just filled out the form. Once we had everything together, it just took a few minutes.
All right, so you filled it out. You got it sent off on the 5th. The correct document, the most updated document, was sent out on April the 5th. And when did you all actually receive the funding?
We got the funding on the 10th. We got the final contract and signed it, and about 30 minutes later, we had the money in our account.
So 5 days after applying, you got the funds on April 10th.
Right.
And how many different banks did you guys have to apply at?
We just applied to one. We've been with this bank for 40 years and knew them well.
Okay. Was the relationship that you had with that bank, with your banker, did that help? Would you recommend everyone have a good relationship, a solid relationship with their banker?
Yes, I would. I think it did help.
Perfect. All right. Well, Dr. Corrigan, I appreciate it so much. Thank you for sharing, and congratulations on getting funded with the Paycheck Protection Program.
All righty. Thank you. We'll talk to you later, Anthony.
All right. What is your name, and what is the name of your business?
My name is Chad Williams, and I'm the owner of Valor Forensic Engineering Services.
All right. And where are you guys located at, and what all do you guys do?
We are located in Jenks, Oklahoma, and we provide forensic engineering services in about a 6-state region right now, including Oklahoma, Texas, Kansas, Arkansas, Missouri, and South Carolina. Basically, what we do is go in when a building's been damaged and help understand how and why of the damage and kind of what can be done about it.
Chad, quick question for you. So you received the Paycheck Protection Program funding. So congratulations on that. We're celebrating you up here. Woo! But I did have a question for our listeners. What bank was it that funded you? And then when did you first apply for the funding?
It was First Priority out of South Tulsa, and it was about 10 days ago when we first opened it up that we applied for it.
Okay.
And it was funded last Friday.
Nice. And so how many banks did you have to apply at?
I only applied it to one.
Okay.
We talked to a couple of others, but our local bank was able to take care of us.
Nice. So good. Okay, so you're one of my clients. You're real. I've seen you in person. I know this for a fact. You're a real person. You got funded. It's a real thing. We just wanted to ask, so what advice would you have for some listeners or for some other clients out there who maybe have not received the funding yet, but they believe in the dream, they're ready to go, but what advice can you give them?
Well, the big thing for us was to keep working with the lender's representative. We had a lot of conversations with Doug Smith over at First Priority, and he was able to take care of what we needed. And anything he asked for, just make sure you get it to them as quickly as they can. And be patient, because understand that the bankers are getting hit with rules that are changing and moving constantly. And so you may think you have everything done, and then they come back and say, hey, I need this or that. So just be responsive.
Very good. Thank you. Well, Chad, congratulations. We certainly do appreciate your time today. And we're excited. And thank you so much for helping us out.
No problem. Thank you so much.
Robert, as we're celebrating these wonderful thrivers who've been funded by the Paycheck Protection Program, we want to encourage listeners. The point of today's show is to encourage listeners, but I also want to wage war on the two specific causes of depression that are most prevalent amongst the clients that I've worked with. And I want to bring this up, but I want to get your take on this.
Depression.
Cause number one of depression is hope deferred. Proverbs 13:12 says, hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a longing fulfilled is a tree of life. And when you have these governors, like the governor of California, who's discussing in response to, sir, when can we come back to play college football? And the Governor Newsom is talking about how we might not be open for a year or two. Why does that depress people when their governor is saying we might not be back for football for a year or two? Why does that kind of talk depress people?
Well, there's a number of different things here. I think one of the biggest things is that it causes people a certain discomfort, or it causes them concern or worry or fear that, oh man, life isn't the way it normally is. What else is going to change? It makes people exist in a state of extreme uncertainty, which what we're saying here, if you're in that state of extreme uncertainty, you can't really know what to look forward to, when you're going to get out of the situation.
But if a governor would say to you, if you were a citizen of California,
right?
And if I were to get up there and say the following thing to you, you tell me how this would impact your psyche. If I get up there and say, Californians, I want to let you guys know the news, the updates as soon as I know. Originally, there was a report put out by Neil Ferguson, who is from it's an interesting organization. It's not an American organization, and I want everybody, all the great listeners from California, I want them to know that Neil Ferguson predicted 2.2 million American deaths, and he predicted this, and he is the director of the Abdul Latif Jameel Institute for Disease and Emergency Analytics. And I want all the listeners out there in California to look up the Abdul Latif Jameel Institute for Disease and Emergency Analytics. Just look it up. Step 2 is Dr. Deborah Birx and Dr. Fauci came to President Trump, and they said we should shut the country down. They said we should shut the country down. So this is President Trump sharing this story with you.
4 weeks ago, we had the greatest economy in the history of the world, the greatest in the world, greatest in the history of the world. We had the most jobs ever in the history of the United States, almost 160 million jobs, right? And then one day, I get a call from Deborah, who's fantastic, and from Dr. Fauci, and she said, we have a problem. I said, what's the problem? And they said, we may have to close it up. I said, close what up? They said, close up the country.
So if I came out as the governor and said, listen, folks, Neil Ferguson predicted 2.2 million American deaths. Dr. Deborah Birx recommended that we shut the country down, and this is what she just had to say.
I'm sure many of you saw the recent report out of the UK.
The Neil Ferguson report.
About them adjusting completely their needs. This is really quite important. If you remember, that was the report that said there would be 500,000 deaths in the UK and 2.2 million deaths in the United States. They've adjusted that number in the UK to 20,000. So 500,000 to 20,000.
So if I came out and said, Neil Ferguson predicted 2.2 million American deaths, he has since dialed back that number to 88,000 predicted deaths, and we're on pace for only 61,000 people to die, which is less people than die. It's less people than die every year from the common flu, according to the CDC. So we're on pace to lose less people than who die from the common flu. And although every life matters, we're on pace to lose less people than the common flu. And so we're going to be back in for a bit. We'll be back open for business. How would that impact people's psyche if they heard that versus what they're hearing now?
Huge.
Huge.
And last night, yeah, huge. Okay, it would be huge.
Yeah.
Which is why I was really encouraged. Did you watch the press conference
the entire
last night?
thing.
Yeah. So we have a Get America Back to Work plan.
Yep.
And not only is this, where people are receiving these stimulus checks and everything like that. So when we see a plan like that's an emotional stimulus, because we know that we're not going to exist in the state of uncertainty, unknowing. And more importantly, here's the thing that bothers me is people who have an opposing view, people who are more supportive of completely locking everything up, which just makes no sense. But it's as if it's like, hey, do you really care about just profits over people's lives? That's not the argument people are making here. We care about people's lives, which is why we need to get things open. People have been out of work now for 4 to 6 weeks. You have single mothers working for you at Elephant in the Room. Unemployment is running out. How are they going to continue to feed their children?
And I talked about it earlier on today's show, and I'm not going to read this thriver's name yet until I get permission to do it on the show or until I get permission to do it or I feel as though it's appropriate to do so.
Okay.
But this gentleman came to our conferences all the time. He'd park his vehicles out front. And I just want to read to listeners out there the description of the thriver.
This really disturbed me, by the way.
Who's been to multiple conferences, who is he's 6 months older than me, approximately. I have 5 kids. He has 5 kids. I'm 39. He's 40.
He was running a great business.
Yeah. And I'll read you about his life here. It says, such and such was born in Oklahoma and passed away from this life on April 13th at the age of 40. He graduated, and he mentions the high school, 1998, and devoted husband of 17 years, left behind 5 kids, 5 funny children. That's what happens when hope's deferred. And I don't understand point number 2 that causes depression. I don't understand why government would do this to you. The worst possible thing you do, when you have a criminal that's the most dangerous criminal in the world, somebody that you are trying to punish for acts of terrorism, you put them in solitary confinement. And the reason why you do it is because it is the worst punishment ever.
I've actually experienced this. And I have the story. I hope it's okay for me to tell. I made this stupid mistake a few years ago where I had a speeding ticket and I forgot to pay it. It was a very stupid thing that I did. And so I was actually at your house early one morning. I was coming home and I vomited multiple times at your house. I just had food poisoning, but we had to get this project done. So we get it done. I'm speeding home, and I'm actually debating whether or not I should go to urgent care or a hospital or something because I vomited 14 times in a row. So I get pulled over. I don't have a paid ticket, warrant for my arrest, and I get put in the Broken Arrow jail, which the people there were very kind. But I was all by myself in a concrete cell, and I was only in there for about 27 hours. I mean, it sucked. But why was I in there?
Yeah.
Because I had an unpaid speeding ticket in Tulsa County, and it was a weekend, and they don't transport you to Tulsa County until the weekday. And so it was, an early Sunday morning. Very embarrassing story. But all that to say is this. While I was in that cell, and I was only in there for just over a day, I literally began to ask myself, if humans are locked away in just this cell like this, at what point does humans even have any value? And those are the kind of questions I began to ask myself just in a short 27 hours of this sort of solitary confinement type of situation. So to make your point, Clay, you're exactly right. We've been in this now for how many weeks is it? 4 weeks, 6 weeks?
Well, you've been in a time of uncertainty now for 8 weeks,
right.
And a time of complete shutdown for people in New York, 5 to 6 weeks.
Right.
And got a really dark, terrible story I want to share with the listeners because I'm trying to illustrate how terrible this is. I talked to a person this week, and their significant other tried to kill themselves. That was on Monday. Tuesday, I talked to an employer, one of my longtime clients, who had one of his employees try to kill themselves as well. I think they did pass. So, pills, the whole thing. Spoke to another thriver who is, again, I never want to seem like I'm benefiting from sharing this. I'm just trying to share it because I want people to know how serious it is. But
you want to help people.
Yeah. We had a thriver in the Southeast who communicated through another thriver. She said, hey, my husband took his life. Please tell Clay thank you for doing the shows. He listened to him every day, but he just couldn't see a way out. I didn't know her, so I can't confirm. But this person right here, I've seen his truck auto-wrapped in our parking lot at multiple conferences. And I see his billboards every day.
His truck was in my neighborhood just 3 weeks ago.
And I know many people who know this guy. And I've seen the kids. And I can't tell you how bad I feel for not doing a good enough of a job of providing hope in a world of darkness, because your governors are idiots. Idiots, these governors are. Just idiots. Somewhere between irresponsible and criminal, what they're doing. They're violating your First Amendment right to peaceably assemble. And then when we get these jackasses on television for an interview, Tucker Carlson, gosh, he did a good job handling this, but he interviews the governor of New Jersey, who God knows how many suicides he's caused. I talked to one thriver in Manhattan this week. It's a crazy story. He said that his apartment building is smelling weird. And I said, okay. What do you mean? He's, well, long story short, people are knocking on the doors now, the police, and checking because they have found decomposing bodies in his building. Bodies. So when you live in a 40-story tower or a 20-story tower, you think about all the people, many of which are alone. They don't know what to do. They're getting turned in by neighbors for going outside. People that are going for a jog are getting turned in. And then listen to Tucker Carlson interviewing the governor of New Jersey. Listen to this interview.
So you made that decision, and as I noted before, 15 congregants at a synagogue in New Jersey were arrested and charged for being in a synagogue together. Now, the Bill of Rights, as you well know, protects Americans' right, enshrines their right to practice their religion as they see fit and to congregate together, to assemble peacefully. By what authority did you nullify the Bill of Rights in issuing this order? How do you have the power to do that?
That's above my pay grade, Tucker. So I wasn't thinking of the Bill of Rights when we did this. We went to first of all, we looked at the data and the science, and it says people have to stay away from each other. That's the best.
He thinks this is funny. You see his face?
How ironic is it to have the highest elected leader in state government say that he wasn't thinking about the law and our Constitution whenever we were imposing these new restrictions.
Now listen to his...
And that it's above his pay grade? Dude, everyone else in law is below your pay grade.
Now Tucker Carlson comes at him again. I don't know how he just didn't attack the guy, but here he comes at him again.
Best thing we could do to break the back of the curve of this virus that leads to lower hospitalizations and ultimately fatalities.
And I'm not contesting that, though. I think I do think there's a debate. This is a rolling conversation because we're learning new things every day, and nothing is settled at this point.
Understood.
But I do want, since you are an elected official, a leader in the government, an executive, how do you have the authority to order something that so clearly contravenes the Bill of Rights of the United States, the U.S. Constitution? Where do you get the authority to do that?
Well, here's the thing. We know we need to stay away from each other, number one. Number two, we do have broad authority within the state. And number three, we would never do that without coordinating, discussing, and hashing it out with the leaders, the variety of the leaders of the faiths in New Jersey. We are among, if not the most diverse state in America, so we're used to that.
I'm sure that you talk to every rabbi and priest, but there's a deeper question here, and I'm just going to ask you one last time because I think it's important. I'm sure you've thought about this. You can't just, as the governor of a state, tell people who they can talk to when and where because the Constitution of the United States, upon which all of this is based, prohibits you from doing that. So you clearly decided that you could do it. Did you consult an attorney about this? Did you? I mean, because this is a legal question as well as a medical one, isn't it?
I don't go to the men's room without consulting an attorney. So
just listen to that guy.
I want to just slap him.
Just the worst person ever. Just a terrible person. Just a terrible, terrible, terrible person.
And we're asking he's asking a legitimate question, and to not. I mean the most dignified response is his scenario. It's just give a response. The smirks and the smide comments,
So you got two causes of depression. One is hope deferred. Okay, so I'm telling everybody out there, listen, I'm going to give you hope. We are going to get this economy open. It is going to be open in May. You say, Clay, how can you tell us that? Well, one, President Trump rolled out the guidelines. I don't agree with the guidelines. I think that the response of Sweden makes a lot of sense. It's unbelievable. But what's happening is now more and more people are saying, I can't live like this. I can't. So you're seeing protests that are being organized all across this great country, not because people want to be difficult. It's because we're not able. We're just not able to. People aren't able to go to work. So if you look here, there's a story. I'll put a link to it on Forbes. It says, Fox News primetime hosts rally around right-wing stay-at-home order protests. And you see here, this is Michigan. People in Michigan are assembled in front of the Capitol with their weapons. You see this?
Yeah.
I mean, this is some crazy stuff. That's an AR. I mean, This is where are we going here, folks? So I'm telling you this. I'm trying to give you hope here, folks. We're going to be open here. We're going to be open. It's going to be open. It's going to be open. You got to keep holding on. We're going to be open here.
It's got to be open.
But if you want to do something, one, share thrivetimeshow.com/coronavirus with people so they have the facts. thrivetimeshow.com/coronavirus. Well, what if I offend somebody? What if we lose liberty? Do it. Be a man. Be a woman. Stand up for your convictions. Point 2, solitary confinement. Solitary confinement. Do what you have to do to be sane. Just do what you have to do. And don't be this weasel who reports your neighbors. Governor Newsom from California. Just a disgrace of a man.
I watched that movie, The Pianist.
Yep.
Have you seen that movie, The
Yep.
Pianist? So
Yep.
the movie, The Pianist, it stars Adrian Brody. My wife and I watched it a few weeks ago. And it's about this incredible pianist, this piano player from Poland who's a Jew.
Yep.
And it's a story of survival while his entire family is executed in concentration camps. And one of the things that bugged me the most was these Germans and even German Jews who, like the Gestapo, who this guy was in hiding. He was starving because no one was feeding him, but he had to stay hidden, and he would get food like once every 2 weeks. And they found out that he was hiding in this apartment. They immediately that's one of the things I've had a hard time understanding is. And it's not just like you're being a snitch or you're being a rat. It's that I am actively seeking to get my fellow community, my fellow neighbors in trouble legally
for
doing what they have to do
to stay mentally sane
or healthy or just provide for themselves.
Go for a jog, which, by the way, if you
I've
have
never
if
understood
you have a better immune system, you're in better shape. You can fight disease.
Right.
Reporting people for jogging.
So,
you kidding me?
Yeah, I actually I saw that someone person used to be a friend had asked our mayor where they could turn people in who were congregating in groups of 10.
You saw that on Facebook?
Yeah, on Facebook.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and
you did see this?
Yeah, I did see this.
Jeez.
And
it's unbelievable.
It's just, I'm just very taken back, Clay, by I just didn't know that was within people, and I can understand people who want to keep themselves safe, but hey, let me look for people.
Let me tell you a little story that'll blow your mind, and then we're going to interview this great guest.
Okay, awesome.
I have a unique knowledge of history because I don't have a lot of hobbies. A disproportionately large knowledge of history. And if you guys want to watch the movie Selma tonight, Martin Luther King Jr.'s life, great movie to watch with the family. It's powerful. But sickle cell anemia. Sickle cell anemia. What is sickle cell anemia? How do you even spell it? Well, it's SICKLE, sickle cell anemia. It's a condition that causes sudden immediate death within African Americans. And also within Caucasians, there is this thing called hemophilia that a lot of people who were in the times of kings and queens where a lot of inbreeding was occurring, you had hemophiliacs, people couldn't stop bleeding. And there were rumors that were passed that you could get sickle cell anemia by sharing a water fountain with an African American. So the idea was we need to be separate from African Americans because they might spread the sickle cell anemia to us. And that lie was used for a long time. The Emancipation Proclamation, by the way, came out as a result of President Abraham Lincoln saying we need to treat African Americans the same as white people. People of all colors need to be treated the same. Well, I don't recall him ever shaking the hand of Martin Luther King Jr. There was quite a bit of time that passed from the time that we ended slavery to the time that segregation ended. But the argument is that African Americans could potentially spread sickle cell anemia. It was a virus that we could get if we shared the same room with them. And all it took was a bunch of good people, nice people, Methodists, Christians, Assembly of God, Catholics, to sit there and blindly do nothing for fear of upsetting people. And they'd go, well, I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to upset somebody. I don't want to upset my governor. So one by one, certain white people joined Martin Luther King Jr. You can see it in the movie Selma. You should watch the movie Selma. They traveled from the north down to the south to support their fellow Americans in their quest for freedom. And man, people were mad at him. People turned him in. People said, you can't go down there and support Martin Luther King Jr. You might get sickle cell anemia, the virus. Even though there's no data of it. And oh, by the way, if you don't get the virus, you might, they're violent people. That was the second rumor. And the third is they're not educated. Well, how educated would you be if you weren't allowed to read in slavery? Unbelievable. And there was a whole bunch of people just sitting by watching it happen. Are you kidding me? It is time to rise up. It is time to do something. So you say, what can I do? One, put your thumbs to work. Go on social media and attack with the facts. Do it. Get the facts out there. ThriveTimeShow.com/coronavirus. Get it out there. We just lost another Thriver this week to suicide because I'm obviously not doing that great of a job communicating the sense of urgency here. Two, fight back. When your brother, your cousin, your neighbor is saying this crazy stuff, people are either for our country or against it. There's either traction or distraction. And I don't care if they're your family. If you need to tell your brother, your fellow brother today, say, brother, I will never speak to you again if you are in favor of this shutdown. I'm done with you. Say it. Abraham had to leave his own family. Say it. I dare you to cut off relationships with your toxic family members. I dare you to end the relationship that you've had with your father for years that's dysfunctional. End it. That's what happened with the Civil War. We said, we're done with you. Brothers were fighting each other. And guess what? The good guys won. There is a time to have intentional conflict. There was a time in the Bible where Jesus flipped the tables. Jesus flipped the tables. Why would Jesus flip the tables? Well, the story goes, Matthew 21:12, Jesus entered into the temple courts and drove out all who were buying and selling there. He overturned the tables of the money changers and the benches of those selling doves. Robert, Jesus had asked people nicely, please do not sell goods and services inside the temple. They wouldn't stop. Why did he flip over the tables?
It reminds me sometimes of my dad is a pretty emotionally reserved guy.
Yeah.
But my dad will sometimes flip over tables. And sometimes that tapping into that sort of level of emotion, that sort of anger, that rage, that total intolerance of a certain behavior causes people to wake up. It causes them to pay attention and be like, oh my gosh. And you've had to do that too.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. It's actually a good thing.
Righteous anger.
Because the result is now these individuals, or in the biblical story, are not using Judaism, they're not using the temple in order to profit from it. They're not abusing it. So sometimes you need to tap into that righteous indignation.
And then what you do, Thrivers, what you do is you attack with the facts. Don't give opinions. Those are cheap. Attack with the facts. The facts are these crazy things where they're actually truthful. It's provable. Cited, quoted, vetted statistics. And currently we know that 61,000 Americans are at risk of dying from the coronavirus. 61,000? And we know that 22 million Americans are unemployed. What's the bigger danger? Think about that. As I dial this incredible number via Skype technology, think about that number. What's more dangerous? Potentially losing 61,000 Americans or 22 million Americans being unemployed. Oh, here we go. Little Skype ringage. Here we go. Skype ringage. Who are we calling, Robert?
We're calling Dr. Mason Orth in Fargo, North Dakota.
Oh, my gosh. Here we go. Doctor.
Hello, this is Dr. Orth.
Dr. Orth, this is Clay Clark and Robert Redmond in beautiful Tulsa, Oklahoma. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. That's a voice for radio I hear right there.
Oh, boy. I'm sorry about that. Now, I got to ask you, my friend, for people out there that want to know, what is the name of your website?
The name of my website is fmcairohealth.com.
fmcairohealth.com.
Health.com.
And why I wanted to have you on the show today, and Robert, I'll let you kind of lead the way here in just a moment, is you are a man who is educated, and you're educated about health, but you're also an entrepreneur, so it's kind of the intersection of this entire argument right now about this coronavirus is the intersection of health and capitalism, and people trying to decide, should we ruin 100% of America's businesses to potentially save 61,000 people, according to the most recent predictions, or should we shut down the economy because Neil Ferguson reports that 2.2 million people might die. And oh, by the way, Neil Ferguson has adjusted his predictions. So what I wanted to do is kind of a tee up for this show. I want to play a little clip for you that this is Dr. Deborah Birx. This would be Dr. Deborah Birx. This is before the big shutdowns began. This is her talking about the report that was produced by Neil Ferguson, who is the director of the Abdul Latif Jameel Institute for Disease and Emergency Analytics. She's discussing his report, and this is before the big shutdowns began. Here we go. This is Dr. Deborah Birx.
Of the 550,000 tests, you can do the math, but we're still running somewhere about 14% overall. That means 86% of the people with significant symptoms, because remember, you had to have a fever and symptoms to get tested at this point. So still 86% are negative. These are really important facts for the American people. I'm sure many of you saw the recent report out of the UK about them adjusting completely their needs. This is really quite important. If you remember, that was the report that said there would be 500,000 deaths in the UK and 2.2 million deaths in the United States. They've adjusted that number in the UK to 20,000. So 500,000 to 20,000. We're looking into this in great detail.
Okay, so Doctor, had you heard that report from the UK, from Neil Ferguson, that originally projected 2.2 million American deaths? Have you heard of that before?
I did hear of that. Yes, I did.
And did you hear about the correction in that adjustment to a magnitude of 25 times less, where they said instead of having 500,000 British people at risk, now we're down to 20,000. Instead of 2.2 million Americans at risk, now we're down to 88,000. Had you heard those adjustments as well?
I've heard of that adjustment and many others, yes.
Okay, and I'm sure you have heard the senator from Minnesota, Senator Scott Jensen, the Republican there from Minnesota, who came out and recently reported that the Medicare gives hospitals $13,000 per coronavirus case. Let me keep this audio real quick just for listeners who haven't heard this.
In short, it's ridiculous. I spent some time earlier today just going through the CDC's manual on how to complete death certificates and the parts that were specifically written for physicians. And in that manual, it talks of precision and specificity, and that's what we were trained with. The determination of the cause of death is a big deal. It has impact on estate planning. It has impact on future generations. And the idea that we're going to allow people to massage and sort of game the numbers is a real issue, because we're going to undermine the trust. And right now, as we see politicians doing things that aren't necessarily motivated on fact and science, the public's their trust in politicians is already wearing thin.
So what do you say to Dr. Fauci tonight?
Well, I would remind him that anytime healthcare intersects with dollars, it gets awkward. Right now, Medicare has determined that if you have a COVID-19 admission to the hospital, you'll get paid $13,000.
Okay, so doctor, now that everybody's heard the information, and I'm sure you've already heard those things or aware of those things, what is your take on government's response to the coronavirus?
Oh, wow, that's a loaded question. I don't get into the political side of it nearly as much as I do the business aspect of it, and the health side of it, especially when it comes to patients. But my grandpa, I think, although most people probably have the best interests at heart, I think that there are perhaps some underlying motives, unfortunately, as there always are in politics, that will probably play out over the course of time. As with all black swan events, down the road we have the benefit of hindsight to help explain things. But I guess that's where I'll leave that.
So right now, has your business been impacted by the coronavirus economy? Has it been impacted by this?
Oh yeah, it has been. We're still open, still running. People need care, but there's an awful lot of people that are terrified to even step outside their door. So yeah, just like other businesses, we have been impacted.
And did you apply for the Paycheck Protection Program?
Yes, sir, we did do that.
Approximately when did you do that? Approximately when did you apply for the Paycheck Protection Program?
It would have been a couple weeks ago, I guess. The first deadline that we had, was it the 3rd or the 10th? I don't recall exactly the date.
Okay, and I won't ask you how much you were funded for, but did you receive funding from the Paycheck Protection Program, the 2.5 times your monthly payroll?
I just received confirmation yesterday that yes, we did.
Wow. Okay. Now, we have been told, this has been told by President Trump, as well as by people that I am very close friends with who hold high offices in the state of Oklahoma, that all of the funding has been dispersed. So if you're out there and you have applied and you are confirmed you're going to get it, then you're going to get it. But if not, you won't get it. So it might mean that you're like the last wave of people receiving the funding. Were you aware of that?
I knew it had run out. I didn't know if I fell on the good side of the ledger or the short side. But like I found out yesterday, I guess I came in on the good end of it.
Now, Robert, you've had the opportunity to work with today's guest for quite a while, and you and your father know him very well. And I'm going to let you lead the way as we navigate this discussion. What I'm trying to do today is inspire our listeners with hope of somebody who actually got funded. But I also want to have a real conversation because people out right now can't go talk to their neighbor in many cases.
Right.
They can't talk to somebody else. So I want to have the conversation that maybe people need to have, but they don't have a place to have it. So, Robert, you have the mic.
Well, I wanted to get Dr. Orth on the show here because you look at other country, or you look at one other country in the world, you look at Sweden, the way that they're handling things, and they're able to, I would argue, have a much better response to this thing than the United States especially is having, which is causing so much carnage to so many lives and to our economy that maybe we may not be able to recover from. And so in our meetings, we've done a lot of discussing of what would be your recommended approach based upon the research, based upon your knowledge, to solving this thing in a way kind of like how Sweden has done as well?
Well, essentially what they're doing is you let the virus pass through. The people who are going to catch it and become seriously ill are going to catch and become seriously ill, regardless of what you do. And those people who are going to catch it and recover are going to catch it and recover. And again, that's the ultimate question is not how do you treat the people that are seriously ill necessarily, but that's important. But how do you ultimately decrease the percent of people infected who become seriously ill? That's what we need to really start focusing on, and nobody's talking about that. And the answer to that question is increase the level of baseline health in the population and increase immune function status in the population. That's how you do it. And so Sweden, is taking a completely different approach and just saying, we're going to let this thing work through. We're going to go through herd immunity. And apparently the outcome is identical to the outcome here, even though we're taking all of these drastic measures that are going to have repercussions that last years into the future.
Right.
I want to make sure I'm getting this. You're saying, I just want to make sure I'm getting this. You're saying that Sweden did nothing. You can go out to dinner tonight in Sweden. They're open. It's just open. And they're saying, hey, the common flu in America kills 80,000 people a year. Unfortunately, 180 kids per year die of the common flu, according to the CDC in America. A certain percentage of people die from the flu, I'm sure, in Sweden. And they know, hey, we just got to let this thing run its course. Are you saying that Sweden literally is doing nothing?
Last night, that's what they're doing. The death percentage is the same as a percentage as here, and they've got some very few, very light restrictions, but for the most, people are going about their daily business. They haven't closed shops. They haven't forced businesses to close. People are out and about. They're in the park. They're walking around. They're going out to dinner with their spouse. They're, for the most part, going about their daily business, and their outcomes are pretty much exactly the same as ours.
I can't even grasp what you're saying right now because it's somebody's struggling to get this. You're saying that they're having the same outcomes as we're having, the same number of deaths approximately as a percentage, and then their strategy is to not shut anything down at all.
That's according to the report I saw last night. Yeah, it's I couldn't believe it either, but
yes, that Thrivers, you're hearing it over and over again, and I just take the Republicanism, take the Democratism, take the politics out of it. Think about your constitutional right to peaceably assemble. Think about all the constitutional rights you're giving up to hide from the virus. And what happens if we hide from the virus for a year or two? Wouldn't it eventually come back there, Doctor?
Well, the virus is out, and the virus is going to maintain its present population. You know, we've only really eradicated one virus in the world, and that was smallpox. You know, this thing ain't going away. Again, I'll just come back to the fact that the most effective strategy we have is to increase baseline health in the population and increase immune function status in the population. That's the most effective strategy we have, because that works across the board for every virus and every sickness and every chronic disease state in this country that kills the vast majority of Americans.
Seriously, people should eat better.
No.
Well, yeah, diet is a huge part of it, but then maybe instead of forcing everyone to quarantine in their homes,
no physical movement,
and shutting down their just entire lives, I think you said yesterday that'd be better to require everyone to take a higher dose of vitamin D, a very inexpensive supplement, right?
Well, and you talk about not moving. I heard the other day that during this quarantine, the average TV consumption of Americans is now at 8 hours a day. We're watching about 3.5 seasons of binge watching 3.5 seasons of TV shows in a week. And that is exactly the opposite of what needs to be happening. If we want to improve the baseline health and the immune function of our population of people, what we need to do is we need to reduce those things that compromise the immune system and increase those things that elevate the immune system. Because this virus is constant. It's the same virus infecting the people. So if you have one person that gets the virus and gets deathly ill and ends up in the hospital, and another person who gets the virus and gets sick but stays home, and another person who gets the virus and really doesn't even know that they had it, what's the difference? The only variable is the individual. That's the difference. And the difference in those individuals is the level of baseline health and the immune function status. That's what we're talking about. If you take out the people with chronic diseases and the elderly, and even if you look at them, their death rate is still only 13% in the elderly population. So if you want to increase your level of baseline health and immune function, it's very simple. Yes, exercise, eat better, don't eat as much junk food, and taking things like vitamin D.
Come on,
it's the simplest solution there is. In fact, there's so much research in the medical literature on vitamin D and its ability to fight viruses. That it can't even be refuted. There was a study done in let me see, it was in the Epidemiology and Infection Journal. It was a 3-year trial, and for the first 2 years, they gave people 800 IUs a day of vitamin D. They reduced the incidence of colds and flus, which are, again, respiratory viruses. They decreased the incidence by 70%. After 2 years, in the third year, they increased the dosage of vitamin D, and the incidence of colds and flu was reduced to almost 100%. 99.1% the incidence of respiratory virus infections. You don't hear this talked about anywhere because there is no money in telling people to get out and exercise, eat fruits and vegetables, get some rest, and take your vitamin D. There's no money in that.
No money.
But that's what will stop this.
Brother, I appreciate you for boldly coming on here and talking about the facts, as so few people are willing to do. And I just appreciate you very much there, Dr. Mason Orth. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I really do hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend there. But again, thank you for coming on the show and sharing this truth. I know you've encouraged some people out there.
I preach it every day. I'll keep preaching it, my friend.
All right. You take care, sir.
We'll see ya.
Yep, you do the same. Thank you.
What is your name and what is the name of your business?
My name is Nace Roberts, and we own Master Machine Manufacturing in Bixby, and we also own 2 Elephant in the Rooms in Oklahoma City.
Perfect. And when did you first apply for funding?
We first applied for the PPP funding as soon as it was available.
Okay, do you know like what day that was or how far back that was?
That was, let me look at my calendar right now. We did it, I think it was probably about the April 1st, and then we had to resubmit it on April 3rd because they had all those new guidelines.
Okay, so you sent it out first on April 1st and then resubmit it on the 3rd. And then when did you guys actually receive the funding for each one of those companies?
So we received the funding from the PPP April 15th.
Okay, so you got it out on April 3rd, and then you received your Paycheck Protection Program funding on, you said, the 13th?
The 15th.
Oh, the 15th. Okay, perfect.
Yep.
So sent it out on the 3rd, got it on the 15th. And how many banks did you guys actually have to send out an application to? How many banks did you guys apply at?
And so we sent the application out to about 3 or 4 banks, and so we actually used a different bank that we've never used from our CPA, and they worked really well with us and our needs. And there was a lot of banks that just never reached back out or didn't really want to participate in the SBA loan.
So the bank that actually funded you was not the bank that you guys currently bank at?
No, it's not. No, it's not. So we're in the process of trying to find new banks anyways, so this is the perfect timing to see how a new bank could handle the pressure during all these applications and also creating new relationships. And the bank we chose was Arvest Bank, and we're super happy and pleased with them because they were able to get our application in. It was super seamless.
Perfect. And then once they sent it off to the SBA and you guys got approved, how quickly did you get funded?
So they were able to send it off on April 7th. So that was last Tuesday. And then we got some papers on April 13th. And since we're a different case because we actually had to open up 3 new bank accounts with them to put the PP money in there. And so there's probably about a day delay, and that's why we got it the 15th because we still had to file some paperwork just as through the bank just to open up some new accounts. So we heard back, though, from them April 13th that they had our documents ready to sign.
Perfect. All right, so you guys got funded on the 15th through the Paycheck Protection Program. Great work on the tenacity with submitting out at a bunch of different banks.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Talk to you soon.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye. What is your name and what is the name of your business?
Aloha. I am Byron Kay, the owner of Kona Honu Divers, a dive business based in Kona, Hawaii.
Perfect. And when did you first apply for funding through the Paycheck Protection Program?
Feels like months ago, but I think it was pretty much before it even became available, I applied.
So as soon as
because the application kept changing.
So as soon as the SBA came out with the program, you applied, and then you reapplied as soon as the new application came out. Is that correct?
Yeah, I sent 4 applications in to my main bank, and then other applications into other banks.
Okay, so you sent out some applications out. How many different banks did you apply with?
At least 4 that I can recall.
Can you tell us what that process was like, Byron? So whenever you actually reached out to the bank, of course, you gave them the application. How prompt did you have to be on getting them any additional information they needed? Or can you explain to the listeners about what that process was like?
Well, it was mostly me pushing information at them. A few of the banks sent me like confirmation emails, or they requested that I refill out applications. But for the most part, it was me just giving them the applications and the information that they needed, as the requirements were continually changing. And then I really didn't hear much for a while. Applications, and they finally reached out to me for clarification. And that when I got the clarification emails or calls, or mostly email, then I knew that they were processing it. And so usually, so it seems like from what I can suss out, from that point on, it's usually like a day before they can actually submit to the SBA and approved for the loan. So you kind of know when they reach out to you for information that you're close to being approved.
Nice. Okay. And so Andrew coaches you, right?
Yes, correct.
And Andrew, Byron's a real person. He's not a hologram. He's a real person.
Byron is a very real person.
Okay.
This is
Hey,
true.
can you give us some advice for some clients and some listeners as far as what they need to do to get funded faster to join this club that you're in, where you're currently funded, life is good,
funded
and
club.
you're ready to go?
Yeah, I guess, reaching out to your banker couldn't hurt, and just being persistent and probably telling them what state you're in. If you are, running out of, it's probably banker no, because then, it's more of an urgency thing. Also, if they do reach out to you, whoever the person that emails you is, it's good to reach out to them. You can email them back and then follow up with like a phone call. If you just call the main bank line and then ask for that person, they will route you to that person's phone. And I got them to pick up and respond, and they were able to kind of expedite my applications after that once they spoke to me in person, and I emailed them directly, and they, instead of having to go back through the system, the pipeline, you can kind of just circumvent it by speaking direct with the people who process the applications.
That's perfect. So you reached out to the bank and developed a relationship with someone there at the bank, explained to them, hey, this is the state our business is in. This is why we need the funds. This is why we need your help. And that helped speed the process up a little bit, right?
I don't know if that helps at all, or helps. Yeah, I mean, I don't know about that, but I do know that reaching out to the people who contacted me for additional information helped quite a bit.
Perfect. And then did you get funding from the same bank that you currently bank at, or was it one of the other banks that you sent out your applications to?
Well, yeah, two of my businesses bank there, but they funded me for a loan for a business that doesn't have an account there. So, yes, no.
Okay, got it. And then when did you actually receive funding? From the time you actually applied at these different banks, how long did it take? Like, how many days roughly did it take for you to go from application to receiving those funds?
It seemed like an eternity. I don't know. Probably at least a week. It seemed like probably. I don't know. God, it's like we're in this weird time warp right now, where we're like a wormhole. Only days passing, I'm sure everybody can relate.
Right.
So yeah, I would probably say like 2 weeks, maybe something like that.
Got it. Good stuff. All right. Well, we want to say thank you for coming on here and helping to encourage some people who have not yet gotten funded. So we appreciate it, man.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Good luck, everybody.
Thank you
Go
so
get
much.
it.
All right. Appreciate it, man.
Aloha.
All right. What is your name and what is the name of your business?
Chris Vanden Hende, and Mint Turbines in Stroud, Oklahoma is our business.
All right, and what exactly does Mint Turbines do?
So we repair and overhaul turbine engines that are used in helicopters, primarily for fire, rescue, and militaries around the world.
Good stuff. And so you guys have actually got the Paycheck Protection Program funds. You guys have received it. So I'm curious, when did you actually first apply for the funding? When did Mint Turbines first apply?
So we feel very fortunate. Our bankers reached out to us early in the process and said, we want to let you know this is coming down the pike. So we applied the first Friday that was eligible for enrollment. So I can't remember what that date was, but we started the process, and because we were sort of an early adopter, things were in flux, and so we kind of went back and forth a little bit, but our application was fully submitted the Monday after the program was opened up.
All right, so you guys were on it. You were pretty quick after they released it.
We were. We feel fortunate. We were dealing with already a small business bank, so a bank that has done a lot of small business loans in the past, so they were familiar with working with the SBA and their process. So we feel fortunate they got us on the stick, and we got there ahead of the curve.
That's good. That is so good. So you guys got ahead of the curve. So you applied very early. So how long did it take from the actual application, the act of applying with your bank? How long did it take from there to actually get the funds? Was it a week? Was it a day? Was it the same day? Was it a couple of weeks? How long did it take from the submission to actually receiving the funds?
So it was about a week. Our bank immediately received a loan number, which told us we were in the queue with the SBA. The SBA funded 3 days later, and then one of the little nuances to this is the SBA pushes the underwriting, so to speak, to the individual bank. And so that's where kind of the magic sauce is. It depends on what each bank is doing in underwriting. So we had a few more hoops to jump through with our bank, and it took us another 3-4 days to get funded after that.
Very good. Hey, Chris, this is Julia, and I have a question for you. So of course, we work with a lot of clients, small, medium-sized businesses, and a lot of them, they're still in the pipeline. They've been very aggressive. They're reaching out multiple times a day, really trying to be proactive in getting funded. And since you're a real person, you're real, you've gotten funded. Yay! Congratulations.
Yep.
This is not made up.
Yeah.
What advice would you have for some of our clients as far as maybe how proactive they need to be, or give us some advice on that?
Well, so the relationship with our banker was fairly new. We've actually been fostering them to move all of our accounts to them, but we hadn't yet. So we were in contact daily via email. And so the approach we took was, we know they're just jammed up with a lot of stuff, and we don't want to be a nuisance and take up their time on things that will slow the process, but we wanted to get daily updates. So every day we reached out, where are we in the process? What do we need to do? What can we do to help? And they would respond back to us. So each day we reached out to our lending institution and got daily updates.
So just to clarify, daily. And
that might change depending on the response you get. We got responses back from our bank usually within an hour. Sometimes, in fact, they would pick up the phone as soon as they read it and said, hey, I don't want to take too much time. This will be quicker to call you and tell you, but daily, because the communication was working and they were responding. If they weren't responding, it would have been far more than that.
Perfect. Well, that is so good to hear. We want to say congratulations on getting funding. That is it's a great breath of fresh air for you guys.
Congratulations.
So
thanks.
Good stuff. Well, we appreciate you, Chris. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys, and thanks for all your help as well.
Thanks so much. Have a good day.
All right. You too.
What is your name, and what is the name of your business?
My name is Daniel Ramos. I'm with Snow Bear Heat and Air here in Amarillo, Texas.
All right, and so you guys have actually gotten funded through the Paycheck Protection Program. When did you all first start applying for this funding?
We started applying for the funding about a week and a half ago, and we just got funded yesterday at 3 p.m. Hallelujah.
That's right. That's good news. That's good news.
Yeah.
So you guys started applying about a week and a half ago, got funded yesterday, and you received funding after about a week and a half. What did that process look like? So after you sent your application out to the bank, they got your application, what did that whole process look like? How did that go for you?
The process first started out with my CPA getting all of my labor costs averaged out for the year. That took him about half a day to get that done, and he also filled out all of my paperwork for me, the forms from the IRS. We filled it out one time, and then they ended up having to fill it out again because they redid the form. So he did all that within a day, and then after the form was filled out, he emailed it to me in a PDF form, and I was able to email those PDF files to the different banks, and it had everything they needed. I emailed that to 4 banks, which is 2 local banks here in Amarillo, Texas, which was Amarillo National Bank, First Bank Southwest, Happy State Bank, and I think we also sent it over to Wells Fargo. There was a few of those banks that just weren't accepting any more applications because they had so many, and we didn't have an account with all of them. But one of the ones that I sent it to the very last was Amarillo National Bank. It took them. I gave it to them on a Friday, and they were calling me on a Saturday. They were actually working on a Saturday, and they were requesting some more documents. I got a hold of my CPA, gave documents, gave it to them, everything they needed on Saturday, and then I was funded on Wednesday.
Perfect.
So it took the bank 3 days.
3 days. And the bank that actually funded you, was that the bank that you currently bank with, or was that another bank?
That's a bank I currently bank with for my business accounts, and that was one of the last ones I applied with because I have a real good relationship with another banker that we had just worked with 2 weeks ago, and I figured she said she was gonna get me taken care of. I figured I didn't have anything to worry about, and then a week goes by, still nothing, and then we applied we applied with the Amarillo National Bank 3 or 4 days later, which was that Friday, and was funded on a Wednesday. So they worked on it pretty quick, actually.
Got it. What do you think would have happened if you would not have gone out and applied at 4 different banks and just stuck there right there with your banker?
I think there's a possibility I probably would not have got funded. And I'm glad I applied over at another bank because they worked on it really quick. I guess they had the staff for it to get it done.
Hey, Daniel, this is Julia. I have a question for you. So, of course, a lot of our clients have received funding, and then we have some who are still in the pipeline. So I had a question for you. You've been with us for a while, and so I figured you would give some good insight to this. So how aggressive did you have to be on following up, or maybe what advice do you have for some folks who are still in the pipeline, waiting to receive funding, and now you're on that flotation device. Things are good. You're on the other side that people are trying to get to. Give some of our listeners some advice on that.
Well, the first bank I applied with was First Bank Southwest, and I followed up with them daily. As soon as I sent them over the documents, I made sure they had the documents, and then I would just follow up with them daily and sometimes twice a day. And the other bank that I sent it over to, Emerald National Bank, I just followed up with them that Friday as soon as I sent it to them. They received all the documents, and then they called me back on Saturday morning requesting some other documents, and then after I sent it to them, I followed up with them as soon as I sent documents to make sure they received it. And then Monday, I followed up with them again to see how it was going. And Monday, they told me I should be funded either Tuesday or Wednesday.
Perfect. So just to make sure, I just want to make sure that that's very clear. So you were following up in some capacity. You had some kind of communication with the bank every single day. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes.
Perfect. Well, Daniel, congratulations. We honestly can't tell you how excited we are for you. This is fantastic. Thank you for taking the time to go over this with us, and you're helping a lot of clients know what to expect, and we certainly appreciate that.
You're welcome. Thank you guys for all your help and giving me the heads up on everything.
Absolutely, Daniel. Have a great day, okay?
What is your name, and what is the name of your business?
Yeah, so this is Vidar Ligard. I'm with SafariMission.org.
All right, Vidar, what exactly is SafariMission.org?
So we are a non-profit organization. We train leaders, community leaders, entrepreneurs, business people, pastors, and ministers, mostly in East Africa, but also in Europe and in North America.
Good stuff. And then you guys are located locally here in Tulsa, is that correct?
That is correct. We are in Tulsa.
All right. And so the good news, you guys got funded from the Paycheck Protection Program. When did you all first apply with your bank for that program?
We applied the Friday that the SBA opened for this. What is that now? Is that 2 weeks ago?
Yep, I believe it was the 3rd.
Yep.
Good stuff. So you applied right when they opened up the program. You guys got in there really quickly. What was that process like applying? What was it like working with your bank, applying, sitting in the application? How did that whole process go?
Work with was a smooth, easy process. We're used to working with various government processes, really in 3 different continents, and that usually has a few quirks with it. It took a little while for the bank to get the accurate instructions from the SBA, so that was the first round on the application. Second round, personally, I did a mistake because of some misunderstandings on some of the salary portions for a nonprofit, and with me, everything was perfect, and we submitted. The paperwork itself is actually really simple, just a couple of pages and a few supporting documents. The bank and the people there were really easy to work with. So overall, I would say it was a really smooth process, but it did take a little while.
All right. And then one more time, which bank did you guys actually go with to get the funding?
We went with Region Bank in Tulsa.
Okay, perfect. So you guys applied there. Pretty simple application process and pretty immediately after it came out. So that is fantastic. And so how long did it actually take from applying with the bank to actually receiving the funds in the bank account? How long did that whole process take?
The whole process was about 2 weeks, and here's what I'll add to it, because most banks around the country, they have a long line of once everything was submitted to the SBA, it was less than 2 business days before the funds were sitting in our bank account.
Perfect. And do you know what date that was?
We were funded this past Monday. Everything was submitted to the SBA last Friday.
All right.
Hey, Vidar, this is Julia, and I was going to ask you a quick question. So, of course, with all of our clients, all of our listeners, a lot of them have received funding. A lot of them are still in the pipeline. So they're in the process of going through some of the processes that you have already gone through, and now you're on the other side. So I do have a question for you. How aggressive would you say they need to be about maybe their follow-ups, or just what advice would you give on why you think you were one of the first to get funded as far as promptness and getting everything to them?
I would check in with your banker maybe every 2 days, and I would ask the question whether your stuff has been submitted to the SBA or not yet, because that really answers a lot. Are you still sitting in the bank's queue before everything is submitted, or are you waiting on the government?
Perfect. Well, Vidar, we certainly appreciate your time today. Congratulations. We're celebrating you guys up here. This is amazing. You're a real person. Funds are in there. It's incredible. And so I just wanted to thank you for your time. Thank you for giving some encouragement to the listeners out there. And congratulations.
Well, thank you much. No problem. Great talking to you. And yes, the process does work. So I would encourage everybody to go ahead and get your stuff submitted.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Vidar.
All right. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye. All right. What is your name, and what is the name of your business?
My name is Chad Kowalczyk, and the owner-operator of CK Electric.
All right. And where are you guys located at?
In Omaha, Nebraska.
All right, out there in Nebraska. And so you guys have gotten the Paycheck Protection Program funding. Let me ask you, when did you guys first apply for that program?
It was the 3rd of April, and they revamped the application over the 4th. And so pretty much right when they released it is when we started, going after it.
All right, so pretty instant. And how did that process go? How was filling out the application? Was it hard? Was it easy? How was it working with your bank? How did that whole process go?
It was simple. The application takes probably less than a minute to fill out. There's no credentials. There's no collateral. There's no there's really nothing to hold your hands tied. And once I filled that out, I transferred it to my bank, and then they had a few other additionals, for a couple payroll reports and just a few little verification that we are truly an LLC. But other than that, it was really simple.
All right. So you guys applied on the 3rd of April, and then reapplied on the 4th after they had a couple updates. And so when did you guys actually receive the funds? So you applied on the 3rd. How many days, what date did you guys actually get those funds for the Paycheck Protection Program?
The 13th.
The 13th. All right, so about 10 days later.
Yep.
Okay.
Hey, Chad, this is Julia. I have a question for you. So I know you work with Robert with Redmond Growth, and so we were curious, what advice would you have to our listeners or to some other clients as far as maybe how you see that you were able to get funded faster, or some things that you learned throughout this process? What could you tell other folks?
I guess the big part for me was my bank. They kind of took it over, and as far as what I had to do was just that basic application. And the simplicity of it is the beauty of it, and the obligation of it after the fact is the other beauty part of it. So it's kind of a no-brainer if you ask me as a small business owner not to utilize the program.
Right. Okay, so one thing for the rest of the listeners out there, just in case they missed it. So really your bank helped guide you through this process. So would you say for most small and medium-sized business owners out there that it's extremely vital that they do have an existing relationship with their banker?
Absolutely, yeah, because I just went through my bank that I have my business account set up with, and I think with that relationship, it's already established. So I think their process of verifying who we are and what we do is expedited just because of the history, obviously.
Well, Chad, we certainly appreciate you. We appreciate your time. Thank you so much, and congratulations. We're excited for you. We're celebrating out here.
All right, thank you.
Have a good one.
Thanks so much, Chad.
Thanks. You bet.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, what is your name, and what is the name of your business?
My name is Mike, and I own Lakeshore Plumbing Company.
All right, Mike, and where are you guys located? Where is Lakeshore Plumbing?
Oklahoma City.
All right, so you guys are out in Oklahoma City, and you guys have recently gotten funded by the Paycheck Protection Program. So when did you guys first apply for that funding?
It was early last week. I applied for it, I think the Monday of last week.
All right, so Monday of last week, and today's Thursday, so about almost 2 weeks ago, about a week and a half ago. Is that right?
It was funded on Monday.
Oh,
It took about a week to get it funded.
Perfect. So you guys applied a total of about a week and a half ago, and then this past Monday, you guys got the funding.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. And so how would you describe that process of actually applying with your bank? How was filling out the application, applying? How did all of that go? How was that for you?
Yeah, it was real easy. Probably the hardest part was just getting the information that they wanted. But most of what we had was on our QuickBooks. So that was actually pretty easy.
All right, so the application, the form, was pretty easy to fill out and submit. And how many banks did you guys actually have to go out and apply at?
Oh, we just applied at Regent Bank. That was it. Just one. Of course, we jumped on it real quick. But
yeah, so you guys got on it pretty fast. And how often were you calling and following up, checking on it? Did you just submit it and leave it, or was there some follow-up there?
Well, they followed up with me pretty good. I think I just followed up with them one time, but he was really responsive to me.
Perfect. All right, well, you guys are funded. Want to say congratulations, and thank you for coming on and telling us about your experience with the Paycheck Protection Program. All right, what is your name, and what is the name of your business?
Rodney Hamilton, and my name of my business is Rod's Cooling and Heating, LLC.
All right. And Rodney, where are you guys located in the United States?
Wichita, Kansas.
Wichita, Kansas. All right. And so you all have received your Paycheck Protection Program funding. And so I'm curious, when did you guys first apply for that funding?
Let's see. It would have been, was it last Thursday or Wednesday, I think it was. Yeah.
Okay. So a little over a week ago from now?
Yeah, a little over a week ago. We had our loan approval number by Monday, and Tuesday we signed the papers and got the money.
All right. So you applied last Wednesday. A couple days passed. Monday you got the number, and then Tuesday you got the funding?
Yep.
All right. Well, that is exciting. How is the process for you all from, filling out the application to submitting it to your bank? Was it pretty easy? Was it difficult? How was it for you?
It's more difficult to go to the doctor than it was to get that loan.
That is good to hear. And how was it? How many banks did you guys actually have to go out and apply at? How many banks did you go out to?
Only one.
Only one. So you guys went out to one bank and applied.
Yep.
Was that the bank you all bank at? What bank was that?
Conway Bank.
Conway Bank. All right. So you guys went out. Took about a week from the application process. Very easy to apply. About a week later, received the funding. And then did you guys follow up at all with your bank throughout the process, or did you submit it and just let them handle it? How did that go?
I submitted it, and you don't want to bug people. No one likes to be bugged. I don't like to bug people either, and I don't like to be bugged. But I submitted it and let the weekend pass, and I thought, well, Monday, dang it, I got to make a phone call, And so I did, and he said, well, we got your loan number here. He said, we should have all the paperwork put together for you by Friday. He said, we have a certain amount of time. Once we get the loan number, we have to get it funded. And he said, we should have you Thursday or Friday funded. He said, maybe even earlier than that. I said, okay, great, awesome. And about 2 hours later, he called me back, same day on Monday, and said, hey, Rod, he wanted the articles of incorporation or something for our company. And he said, just bring it with you when we sign the papers tomorrow. I said, okay. So, and when I went into the bank, I wasn't in the bank 10 minutes.
There you go. Then you got your funding.
Got my funding.
Got the funding. All right, Rodney, I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for coming on here and sharing your Paycheck Protection Program story with us.
All right, awesome. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, what is your name and what is the name of your business?
Phil Moncrief, CEO of All Points Logistics.
All right, and where are you guys located?
Merritt Island, Florida, right outside of Kennedy Space Center.
All right. And so you guys have received your Paycheck Protection Program funding. I'm curious how that process went. When did you guys apply for the funding?
We applied on, let me think exactly when that was, on that Friday that it was first opened.
All right, so pretty quick.
Yes.
All right, so you guys applied pretty fast. And after you applied on that Friday when the SBA released the forms and the application process, how long did it take for you to get the payment? What day did you guys get the payment, the funding on?
That would have been the following Wednesday.
Okay, so it was
well,
just...
We ended up working through the weekend to make sure we had our documentation in place, and then it went through underwriting on Monday, was approved, had one-day process on Tuesday, and we saw the funds on Wednesday.
All right,
pretty
so
quick.
Very fast, yeah. How is the process for you? How was it working with your bank? Was the application hard? Was it easy? How was the process? How did it go for you?
It was actually pretty easy. It was 2-3 page, I believe. We had to have some backup information to supplement the application itself, but we had most of that pretty much at our fingertips already, so it made it pretty simple.
All right, and how many banks did you guys go out and apply at? Was it just one? Was it a couple?
It was just one. It was the one that we had already done an SBA loan with before, so they already pretty much had most of our information. So we were just a return customer.
All right. Would you say that it helped having a relationship with a bank and with a banker? So when this came up, that it made it smoother? Would you recommend people actually have a good relationship, a solid relationship with their banker?
Yes and yes. So having that existing relationship helped tremendously. And if you don't have one, I would highly recommend that you get that relationship put in place.
Perfect. All right, Phil with All Points Logistics, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for coming on.
All right. You have a great day.
All right, what is your name and what is the name of your business?
My name is Levi Gable, and the name of my business is Gable's Excavating.
All right, Levi, so Gable's Excavating. Where are you all located, and what exactly does Gable's Excavating do?
We're based in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and we provide utility construction services for utility providers and for new commercial construction.
Perfect. So you guys received your Paycheck Protection Program funding recently. When did you guys first apply for that funding?
We submitted our initial application on the very first day that they announced that they were taking applications. But it turns out that the guidance kept changing, and it wasn't for maybe another week and a half until my bank reached out to me and kind of told me specifically what additional paperwork they would need. And so I think we got that all turned in last Friday.
Okay, so a little less than a week ago, you guys had all of the every single one of the necessary documents turned into your bank. Was the application, was it hard to fill out? Were the documents hard to gather? Was it a pretty easy process, or was it a little bit more difficult?
No, for us it was pretty simple. It wasn't a very difficult process at all. Most of the paperwork they needed, the documentation, the W-2s and W-3 and so on and so forth, it was just a matter of going into QuickBooks and pulling those reports. So I guess it could have been a little more difficult if we weren't utilizing QuickBooks or a similar program, but it was really pretty simple to gather the documentation.
Perfect. So you applied this past Friday. When did you guys receive the funding? When did you actually get the funds?
They funded our PPP loan late yesterday evening.
Late yesterday. So that was about 6 days, 5 days? Yeah.
I guess that's about right, yes.
All right. And so how did you actually hear about the Paycheck Protection Program? And after you found out about it and applied, how often did you follow up with your banker? How often did you call them to just see where the loan was at?
So we first heard about the PPP program and the EIDL really as soon as they started talking about doing any kind of stimulus. Our ears were really kind of perked up to that and wanted to follow that and keep up with it as closely as we could. And we really wanted to be, or at least we hoped to be, on the front end of that thing, just with the anticipation that the system would just be completely overwhelmed. So once we got the application turned in and my bank told me that it was approved through the SBA, but they were awaiting additional guidance on what exactly they would need as far as documentation, I was probably following up with him 2 or 3 times a week. We've got a pretty good relationship with our banker there at Security Bank here in Tulsa. So he kept us in the loop pretty well, and I was trying not to bother him too much. I know they've got a lot going on right now.
All right. And then did you guys just apply at Security Bank, or how many banks did you have to apply at?
No, that's the only bank we applied at. Like I said, we've been banking there for nearly 30 years. So I called him up as soon as I heard about the program and about the date that was set of when they were going to start processing those, and he told me that they were going to do it. So we just went with them right off the bat.
And having that relationship with your banker over there, was it valuable? How would you have seen it go differently if you didn't have that relationship there?
Yeah, I'm kind of a little bit. I'm not quite as old school as some people, so I will move around a little bit if I can get a better deal somewhere. Depending on what we stand to gain in that sort of situation. But I think in this specific situation, it helped us out quite a bit because we had a relationship with the bank and with our specific banker, and I think he kind of got us in there and got us taken care of probably a little bit quicker than if we would have just been a random business owner that showed up and wanted them to get this loan done for us.
Perfect. All right, Levi. Well, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for coming on today, and congratulations for your Paycheck Protection Program, man.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thank you.
All right, what is your name, and what is the name of your business?
Hi, I'm Seth Flint, and I own Tip Top K9 Oklahoma City. We train dogs. It's awesome.
Perfect. And how long have you been out there in Oklahoma City training dogs?
Just under 2 years.
Just under 2 years. And from what I've heard, you all have actually received your Paycheck Protection Program funding. So let me ask you, when did you guys first apply for that program, the Paycheck Protection Program?
So originally we applied on the 7th of last month when everything started. They had a few different amendments to the application since then, and then we finally got the true application without any amendments on the 17th of last month. And then just a couple days later, or I think just a day or two. Let me pull out my notes real quick. But I believe it was a day after they had us sign, we got the money.
All right.
So we actually got it really, really fast.
So you guys applied, and as soon as it got out there, and as soon as you got the paperwork back to start doing some signing and some signatures, and you guys signed, the money came in very, very quickly.
Yes. Yeah. No, it was April 7th is when. Oh, okay. Actually, it's this month. So I'm sorry. It was this month that we started, April 7th, and we got funded on the 15th.
Okay, so you guys submitted your application on April the 7th, and then the 15th.
April 7th, and we got, yep.
The 15th is when you got funded. Perfect. And how was that whole process? Was it easy? Was the application confusing? Was it long? Was it difficult? Was it easy to do?
The application was actually extremely easy. We're pretty organized, so we just went and got our records from last year, our tax records, and super easy. It was very self-explanatory, just had to do it. Once we got everything, signed and finished, it was literally completely done. And then the next day they gave us the money. So went into a bank account.
All right. And how many banks did you all have to apply with?
So honestly, we only did one. We just did one because that's originally what we had only thought, like that we only needed to do one. And then we were gonna start applying for others, but they had it so fast that we didn't need to. We got it just pretty much immediately.
All right. Did you guys follow up with the bank daily? Just one time? Never? What did that look like?
Yeah, we check up every day or so, maybe every other day, and they were so quick to reply. We used Regent Bank, and they were just completely, really, they replied to us on every question, and they honestly were pretty proactive, and we didn't even need to have them reach out, or we didn't even have to really reach out to them. They reached out to us on everything and told us exactly where everything was at, which was really convenient.
Boom. All right. Well, thank you so much, Seth. I appreciate you, and congratulations on getting that funding, man.
No problem. Thank you very much. Appreciate you.
Hello. What is your name, and what's the name of your business?
Greg Abbott, Abbott Image Solutions.
Hey, Greg, what does Abbott Image Solutions do? What do you guys do?
We are a manufacturer of signs, awnings, and anything physical that your brand is shown on.
And if I understand it correctly, you and I work together. We've been working together for a little bit now, and you are essential. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
So can you give just a quick recap of how this has affected your business, though, and in terms of you needing the Paycheck Protection Program, and talk to us a little bit about that? Can we talk about that for a bit?
About 75% of our cash flow stopped as soon as the stay-at-home orders came in the state of Ohio. It was one of those things where some of my employees were looking for a way out as well, wanting to be unemployed, didn't really want to work. So it had a direct impact on us in the fact that our cash flow was slowing down, and the work that we needed to get done was harder to get done because people didn't want to come in and work. So that's had an immediate effect. Also, some of the essential businesses like financial institutions needed things quick. They needed signage quick. They needed protection barriers quick. They needed navigation signage quick to navigate around the coronavirus. So in some ways it's been really negative, and in other ways it has created some cash flow that wouldn't have otherwise been there.
Sure. Okay, so can you tell us, when did you first apply for the Paycheck Protection funding?
I applied for it, I think the Friday that it was first available.
Okay.
So was that the 3rd, April 3rd maybe?
Okay. And so rumor has it, and we're celebrating up here for you, rumor has it that you have actually been funded, that you're a real person. You're real. I talk to you every week. I know you're real. I can attest to that. You're not a hologram. You're a real person that's actually been funded. So that first Friday that it was available, which I believe was April 3rd, you applied, and then when did you actually receive the funding, Greg?
We received the funding yesterday. We were sent... so during that process, it took the bank, or the credit union, about a week, all of the details ironed out. So they kept on asking me additional questions because they didn't have the questions that they needed for the SBA.
Sure.
So that took about a week. And then they told me last Thursday that the SBA gave us an approval on a loan, and that we would be next Friday. So
beautiful.
Thursday. So yesterday, they sent some online loan papers to sign on DocuHub. Signed them, and literally within 5 minutes, we had the money in our account.
Oh, it's beautiful. We're celebrating you up here. That's amazing. Okay, 2 last questions. So first, how many banks did you have to apply at, Greg?
You broke up there. Did you ask how many banks I called or tried to apply to?
Yeah. How aggressive were you on trying to get that?
I was extremely aggressive. I was so aggressive. I actually talked to our local bank, which is a small bank that we work with, but also that serves the local community that we're in. I talked them into actually getting involved in it for other people. But I talked to probably 5 or 6 banks.
5 or 6.
And the first one, 5 or 6, and aggressively.
Okay.
But the first one that sent me paperwork to fill out and had their crap together is the one that I went with.
So just to be clear, you were constantly reaching out to at least 5 or 6 different banks, and you were actually encouraging them to get involved in this program. So you were very diligent on it. Is that what I'm understanding?
Extremely diligent. Emailing, texting, doing everything I could to get a clear answer.
And because of that, you were one of the first to get funded.
Yes. Yep.
Beautiful. Okay, last question for you. What is one piece of advice? Because we have a lot of listeners. We have a lot of clients. We have a lot of listeners out there, small, medium-sized businesses. And, they're going to get funded, although they haven't yet. So what is, you're on the other side of the funding crowd here. So we're celebrating that. But what is one piece of advice that you can give our listeners to maybe help them either get funded faster or just give them some insight on your end?
I think have your ducks in a row. We even before we could submit paperwork, we had our paperwork together. We had everything electronically files so that we could send it to the banker. And just to keep on pursuing it. The government's going to refund this program, and it really isn't all that daunting after you get into it. It's it did take maybe 3 or 4 hours of my time total, but it's also a significant amount of money for that amount of time. So if you're a legitimate business, if you're wanting to stay moving and keep your employees paid, I just suggest pursuing this at all costs.
Well, Greg, thank you so much for your time today. I can't tell you how much we appreciate that. We're so happy for you. Congratulations. You're funded. It's great. It's real. It's really happening. But thank you for your time, and we appreciate you.
Thanks, Julia.
Have a good one.
And now, without any further ado, 3, 2, 1, boom!